Testing, testing, 1 2 3 1 2 3, testing, testing. Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody doing right now? Y'all doing okay? Yeah. Yeah. All right. No need to go crazy. Just another stream of me being on time. Just one more on the record. Broly says the new Infusion Morj video is such a Mihawk upscale. Mihawk greater than Shanks. Shanks can't even Black Blade. You know what I'm confused by? I'm generally surprised. So that video is gaining a good amount of traction. I am I just, it makes me realize that sometimes I have just no idea when certain videos are gonna really resonate with people. Because, sorry, just double checking some things. What the hell is this? Yeah, because I thought that was like a fucking standard theory video, but apparently people are really fucking excited by that one. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I thought that was just a standard theory video. I still, like, I strongly believe it. I thought it just makes a lot of sense. But, I thought that made a ton of sense, but I didn't realize that so many people would be, like, mind blown by it as a concept. Does that make sense? I don't know. Hair is way out of control. I was actually going to say, I think the hair is looking good right now. Am I right? I think the hair is looking good right now. It's got me second thinking, second guessing, doing a second thought of whether or not I want to cut it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let me do this. I don't know. Hair looks good. Yeah, the problem is that the situation with the hair is that I don't know how to consistently make it look like this. 'Cause sometimes it just looks very, very. What's the? I have very little. I'm running on super low sleep right now. Very, very low sleep. So forgive me if my words are a little bit jumbled up. Frizzy. Sometimes it just looks very frizzy. Hair looking good. We might stick with it. I don't know. The thing is that I still believe that I look better with the shorter hair in general. I do. But if I cut my hair now, I will literally probably never again grow my hair out like this. It's just never, it's like, the time commitment to doing this is just so fucking long. So it's like if I cut it now, I just feel like so much is lost. I think I've explained this multiple times, but I feel the need to defend my choices repeatedly with this situation. Use Afro hair care? What does that do? What's Afro hair care? Afro hair care. I don't have an afro. Focuses on maintaining the health and vibrancy of hair that is naturally kinky or curly. Ah, but this looks like a lot of work. Okay, I'll look into this. That's interesting. Man bun Morj? That's my other option. But I don't actually know if I can pull off the man bun. For a bit I thought I could, but now I don't know. Unkempt is the word. You said unkept is the word? I think the actual word is unkempt. Right? Unkempt. Yeah, I don't think unkept is a word. Unkept is also a word. Then what the fuck is the point of unkempt? Unkept versus unkempt. They mean the same. They have slightly different meanings, according to AI. Unkempt usually refers to a person's appearance or social grooming. Okay, yeah. Well, unkept refers to objects and places. So I was correct with unkempt. But you were on the right track. Anders saying, Morj, I told you to keep faith in Jokic. FTA ain't shit to Gocic. I am happy because Jokic is my favorite player still left in the playoffs. I'm obviously happy. I just don't know if we are set for heartbreak in Game 7. I don't know. I didn't watch Game 6. I don't know if my heart could have taken it. I literally, because last night I was writing the script for next week, and I just made a clear concerted effort to just not check scores at all. throughout the night as I was writing. And then it was a pleasant surprise for me when I finished the script. And what do you know? The Nuggets had won. So I am happy about that. Here's the tricky situation. Aaron Gordon might not play Game 7, or he might be injured Game 7. So that's difficult because they really need everything they can get. Because the Nuggets, they don't even really have they don't have a starting 5. They don't have a real starting 5. They've got a starting 4, and then whoever happens to fit what they need in the moment, kind of, and not fuck up their flow. So if they lose Aaron Gordon, they're in big trouble because he's been huge for them, obviously, throughout this playoffs. I don't think they could... anything can happen, but I don't know if they can win Game 7 without Aaron Gordon. Game 7 is at home for the Thunder. And I'm a little bit worried because the argument that I've been making too, but that everyone's made, is that, like, in close games, the Nuggets will probably, like, through experience, beat out the Thunder. But the Nuggets fucking lost 4 and 5 going into the fourth quarter with, like, solid leads. So they blew big leads. I feel like a lot of that is fatigue from what I understand, but at the same time, that's not going to magically go away for Game 7. They will get an extra day of rest, so that's good. So maybe that will help a little bit. I don't know. I just don't want to get my hopes up too much with the Nuggets. The one thing I'll say is that, like, I really, really dislike SGA. I think just watching him and his playstyle frustrates the fuck out of me because he's... I don't want to get too far into basketball, so this will be my final thought. I think he might be my least favorite player in the NBA now. I think he might be my least favorite. He just is. Because of the free throws, like, it's just so blatant how he gets calls that nobody else on the Nuggets gets. It's not an exaggeration to say that touching him gets him calls. It's kind of insane. I don't understand exactly why that is the case, but it is. So I really dislike SGA. The problem is that I do believe he's a relatively, so far as I've seen, I do believe he's a relatively good player under pressure. That's the most frustrating part about SGA. He's a player that I could see myself rooting for and actually really enjoying his play style, if not for all the foul baiting, because I think he is a clutch player. I think he is dangerous. Like, I do, like, I respect players when I realize that I actually fear them. And I realize that I'm scared of what they can do. So as of last year, when I watched the Mavericks play the Thunder in the second round, I realized I was scared of SGA because the rest of the Thunder was shitting the bed. But almost any time he got the ball, he could score from mid-range, and there wasn't that much the Mavericks could do about it. So I was actually just like, fuck, this dude he's pretty cold. So I do fear SGA. I know he's had some bad games this playoffs, the second round. So is Jokic. But I do think that he is capable of, like, just putting up a crazy scoring performance in Game 7 and closing them out. And, like, Jokic did put it together the last couple games, for sure. But the refs are just letting the Thunder fucking mug him 24/7. So, and he's having to really shoulder an extensive load. I don't know. I don't think he can just hero carry them to a win in Game 7. I mean, we saw that already in Game 5, so it would rely a lot on the other Nuggets players showing up. Aaron Gordon injured. I just don't know. It's on the road. I don't want to get my hopes up. I believe it's possible, for sure. Kunal Dushawal, thanks a lot. Hi, Morj. Been a long time. Drunk right now. Can you talk about Luffy and Nami? It will make me feel better. I will also send a chat about how to damage regen when I'm a little sober. Love you, also hire me. All right, that's a lot in one go. I will talk slightly about Luffy Nami. That's it. I'll talk quickly about Luffy Nami. How do I say this? I don't think there's any clear ships for Luffy in the story, but if there is a ship that Oda is actually somewhat, if there is a ship that Oda's remotely writing for Luffy whatsoever, it's Nami. It's pretty, like, I don't think you need to actually go any further than Strong World to see that, because that's a film that's written by Oda, and it's essentially a Luffy Nami ship movie. So it's almost like when Oda's allowed to go into the realm of fan fiction, like not canon, he likes to play with the idea of Luffy Nami. Nami is kind of Oda's, like, he's often depicts her as the queen, the counterpart to Luffy is the king. Like, he just does that throughout the story. And then the biggest thing that nobody ever seems to have an answer for, like, Strong World kind of cements it, but then the big thing that nobody really seems to have an answer for is just, like, Luffy has given Nami his hat twice. which is not something he's ever done with any other Straw Hat or any other character. So I would love an explanation of why he does that with Nami and only Nami. Like, if it's just a platonic friend thing, how come it hasn't happened with... how come he doesn't do it with Zoro or Sanji or Usopp or Chopper or Robin? You know, Robin's a woman. Never happened with her. What about Vivi? What about Hancock? I mean, again, I think the argument is simply Strong World. There's a lot of subtle stuff throughout the story with, like, color spreads and certain situations that Oda does that he puts only Luffy and Nami into. But Oda doesn't want to actually, like, change the series with romance, so he's never going to push the boundaries or the envelope with that. But it's clear that in his fan fiction writing, Strong World, he's okay with doing that. So, that's it. Taptio Treviso says, there's no easy fouling calling. Free throws emphasize it. Yeah, but it's fucking stupid. I don't like a player that relies so heavily on that. I also feel I want these playoffs to, like, I hate the idea that the 80s and 90s were so defense, like, so physical in the defense, because, like, in the playoffs this year, the defense has, like, it's probably true that at some points in the NBA it got to a point where, like, defense was just too soft in general. But in the playoffs this year, you can't say that. That's not the case. This is insanely fucking physical defense. If you go watch, like, Jordan's highlights versus, like, in the finals against, like, the Sun, like the 91, 92, 93 finals or whatever, if you go watch those highlights, it is not as physical as it is right now. It literally isn't. It's not as physical. It's kind of just like people tout the idea that it was extremely physical back then over and over. And so now it's just assumed that whatever's happening right now could not have been as physical as it was back then. This is fucking insanely physical. Every fucking round is so fucking insanely brutal. Like, fucking Josh Hart is walking around with blood all over his face. Like, he's literally been cut open. I wish that myth would just go away at this point. Because I think it's stupid because, like, the regular season is, like, too soft. Like, the regular season is where the NBA wants, like, that really soft foul calls and, like, just because they like the numbers, right? Like, crazy high scoring games and stuff like that. But then it's like in the playoffs, it just, like, it changes dramatically where then it goes to allowing even more physicality than was allowed back then. All right, no more basketball talk. Ravage says Jokic averaging more free throw attempts than Shea and also flops a lot, to be fair. This is my only comment. If your argument is that the Nuggets or Jokic are getting more free throw attempts, then you're not watching the games. Because it's not about who gets more free throw attempts at the end. It is the ratio of how many times a player is actually getting fouled to how many times they're getting free throw attempts. Anybody who's watching the games and, like, clips that are going around online, everywhere, every analysis of the game, all of that, every single play fucking shows that the Thunder's defensive scheme is literally to continuously being fouling Jokic with the ball, without the ball, all the time, because the idea is that the refs are not going to call a foul every single time. So, yeah, Jokic is ultimately getting more free throw attempts, but that's because the Thunder are fouling him a million fucking times more than SGA. They're also fouling the Nuggets in general a million more times than the other way around. That is the general Thunder philosophy, which is that, like, we are just going to foul all the time, because at the end of the day, the refs are not going to call a foul every single play. So the Thunder are playing with the idea of, like, what are the boundaries that... like, they're playing with what the system is. The NBA can't have refs calling fouls every single play, so the Thunder know that, so they abuse the shit out of that to see how far they can get away with. The Nuggets do get more free throw attempts, and Jokic does get more free throw attempts than Shea, but he also gets fouled a million times more. With Shea, anytime he's fouled, he goes to the line. With Jokic, he can get fouled 10 times and then go to the line once. So the ratio is what we're looking at there, right? And the reason Jokic has to flop is the same reason as the reason LeBron has to flop. The bigger, stronger players get fouled a lot, but they don't get called for it. Like, they get hit on the arms, the head, all of that very, very frequently, but the refs tend to not call that as frequently as the smaller players. So it just, in order to actually get foul calls called correctly, the bigger players ultimately do have to flop somewhat. Otherwise, the refs just straight up don't call it at all. So it's kind of like, yeah, Jokic does flop. He's started flopping more, But that's because the refs aren't actually doing their job. They're not officiating it fairly. Anyway, continuing on. Literally no more. All right. Cap, Shea was getting no calls last game because he should almost never fucking get calls. He should never fucking get calls. Okay, the way he plays is oriented around trying to draw fouls, which is just not a type of play that anybody should try and support. All right. Let's get to the thing. First of all, we're going to say big thanks. Let me screen share. Let's get the stream likes up to 50 real quick. Nuggets are literally scared to breathe on FTA because of his isekai cheat tier whistle, LMAO. Yeah, it's not about whether or not the players are how many, like, it's stupid to go by like how many times a player gets free throws. What you're really supposed to look at is how many times are they actually getting fouled and what percentage of that time is getting them free throws. With SGA, it's like a fucking 1-to-1 ratio. You breathe on him, it's actually skewed. You cannot foul him at all and he gets a free throw. With Jokic, it's like foul 10 times, get one free throw. But the Thunder foul him literally every single possession. Therefore, he ultimately gets more free throws than FTA. Whereas the Nuggets have to go out of their way to not breathe on Shea at all. Therefore, at the end of the day, he doesn't get as many calls. But that's because they're forced to play in a way that's almost no contact with him. Anyway, continuing on. Let's get the stream likes up to 50 real quick. Akash Panda, thanks for the 5, man. Zoro cut Monet with Shusui with no Haki, and it didn't harm her. I think there is more to Black Blades than just permanent Haki coding. Inactive, maybe. I think a lot of people made an assumption from the video that I don't think I ever meant to imply. I'm not saying that the Black Blades are constantly emanating Haki. I'm just saying that the hardness has stuck. Like, that's ultimately what's stuck with the blades, like the permanent hardness that is characteristic of being some. And I thought that's something that everybody already agreed on, right? I thought everybody agreed that that Black Blades are some result of Haki, right? Like some sort of permanent residual Haki or something, or permanently imparting a level of Haki to the blade so that it's always hard. It's the same way that, like, just because Enma has some of Odin's presence left in it, I don't think that means that Enma automatically cuts Logias or something like that. I don't think that Shusui, like full-on Black Blade, automatically cuts. That was like a whole separate discussion that seemed to spawn off from the video, which was like, okay, well then, how come Mihawk couldn't cut Buggy and stuff like that with his sword? And I was kind of confused because I was like, I don't think I was ever implying that it's automatic Haki inside those swords. I just was saying that the hardness is permanently infused in there. I think same with the poneglyphs, the hardness is permanently infused. I think this is just a general concept that is opening up here, which is like you can permanently infuse Haki in a way, and there's likely various effects that can come with this, right? Because it's also, you can make the argument, okay, like why do the blades turn black but the poneglyphs aren't black? Or why was the Haki knot, as far as I remember, not black? I don't know the details. I'm just saying that this is a similar trend that we've been seeing over the course of the story, which is like blades being made permanently black. Okay, that's some sort of permanent sort of residual Haki effect. Haki knot, that's clearly stored Haki. Poneglyphs, this would explain that as well. It would also explain why Kaido felt Odin's presence. And it would explain how Gaban was able to damage, what's-his-face? Sommers, right? I'm not saying that all of, like, I'm sure that there's nuances to how all of these things work that Oda is going to get into. I don't know what all those nuances are. It's kind of the same way, like, when armament Haki in general was first introduced to us, at that point it was like, okay, our initial understanding is that it's used to harm Logias, but then as we went further, we began to understand, okay, like, depending on how you use it, it can be used to create a shield, like an invisible shield, or it can be used to, like, penetrate the opponent and, like, destroy from the inside, or it can be used to coat weapons and stuff and turn them black. Like, I'm not trying to get into the nitty-gritty of, like, I never even thought that black blades mean that they always have Haki in them, so I think that's something that people kind of just took and ran with. I just interpreted it as, like, they just remain as hard as they would if Haki was currently being put into them by the user. That was like what I was basically saying. Same as the poneglyphs. Like, I don't think you could pick up a poneglyph and chuck it at a Logia user and it would, like, hit the Logia user. You know what I'm saying? Abrar Ahmed, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 9 months. Hi, Morj, thank you for the membership. You gotta watch Orb on the movements of the Earth. This anime made me realize why I love anime. Anime of the year for me. I think I've heard about that one. Orb. On the movement of the Earth. Anime. I think I've heard of this. What is this? Let's see. Harley, Casey, no. Oh, it's on Netflix. All right. Shit. Harley, Casey, no. Oh, yeah, this has been recommended to me before. Maybe by you guys. 12-year-old prodigy, Rafal believes in living rationally so as to earn blah, 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 blah. Oh, unfortunately, I'm not going to watch this. Unfortunately, I'm not going to watch this because it's, when it comes to anime, I have a simple policy, which is I only watch series that really involve, like, throwing hands or some level of fantasy and science fiction. This doesn't seem to have that. This seems like a very grounded story. For me, with anime, I just don't watch that. I'm sure it's really fucking good, but that's just not my thing. With anime, I kind of watch for either superpowered characters fighting each other or like characters in general fighting each other. I like that shit. Or I want some sci-fi in there. Sci-fi fantasy elements at the very least. Akash Panda, thanks for the 2. Roger's crew not having black blades is even weirder. I mean, for me, I think that black blades is a thing that it most likely comes from very, very dedicated focus to specifically, how do I say? I feel like it's another thing where it's like a dedicated focus sort of thing in terms of trying to turn your blade permanently black. I don't know if it's necessarily something that just like you do it enough times and then your blade just magically turns black. I feel like that's something that swordsmen actively aim to pursue. That's my thought on that at the moment, but I think we just need a lot more clarification. I do think that the single thing I can say is that all of these things seem to be a similar usage of Haki, something where Haki is not going away for some reason, right? Black Blade, something Haki related, Haki not something Haki related, so there's something permanent going on, and then it can fit into perfectly the concept of the regeneration thing. Hold on, let me pull these dogs in. All right, Harley, Casey, that's it. That's it. Inside. Nope. Inside. Harley. Inside. Yeah. Inside. Casey. Inside. No. Harley. Inside. Inside. Casey. Inside. Go. Good girl. Inside. Good girl. Yeah. All right. All right, let's get the stream lights up to 50 real quick. Very grounded. The concept of the MC is incredible. I just can't be watching it then, unfortunately. It's just the way it is. I think people are also getting too into like, okay, how does this upscale Mihawk? What does this mean for this or that? Yada yada. I don't even want to get into any of that. Like, to me, it's not even a power scaling thing necessarily. Like, you can take it as that, but I'm just trying to interpret what we're seeing right now in terms of the strange Haki abilities that are unexplained at the moment. Brandino, thanks for the 2. Knicks Wolves finals will save the NBA. I think so. What's funny is that in the NBA right now, there's no. The only team that I'd be really like bummed if they won the finals is the Thunder. That's the only team I truly, deeply from the bottom of my heart do not want them to win the finals. Everything about the way that they operate, the way they abuse the system, just foul every single fucking, like, it's a fucking loophole. This needs to be addressed. It's a fucking loophole in the system that they're exploiting, which is like, well, if we just foul all the time, the NBA is not going to like just let the whole team foul out. Like they're not going to call a whistle every single time. Like the NBA functionally cannot do that because it disrupts the flow of play too much, right? They're abusing that system, and then at the same time on the other end, they're master fucking foul baiters or whatever. So like, I just dislike everything about the way the Thunder operate. I really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, hope that they don't win. So out of the the Celtics, I also don't want to win either. I don't want the Celtics to win either, but if they somehow manage to win without Tatum, I think that would be so impressive that I almost wouldn't mind. Because, like, before I hated the Celtics just because, like, I felt like they're, like, it's just not even fair. Like, I don't feel like any of them are, like, I just felt like it's a team that was, like, just so overpowered or whatever that they're, like, it's hard to beat them as this fucking super team or whatever, and I didn't like any of their individual players. But now that they've lost their best player, nobody can say that the Celtics anymore are, and like with Porzingis' situation, no one can say anymore that the Celtics are just like this broken team, right? They're still a good team, but not a broken team. So if the Celtics actually manage to put shit together, and I think another part of it is I didn't like the fact that Tatum would be put into best in the world or even top 5 conversations. He shouldn't be in top 5 conversations, just because he played on a super team, you know? But now if the Celtics won, I don't think I'd mind. I think I'd be very, very impressed. If they managed to pull this off, that'd be crazy. I don't know another team in history that would have done this. Like, they lose their best player, and then they still manage to win, like, 2 more rounds. Yeah, 3 rounds, really. 2.5 rounds, and just win the whole thing. That'd be kind of insane. So I'd be very, very impressed if they did that. So yeah, it's really just the Thunder at this point that I hate. Hate is in the sports terminology. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it'd be really bad for the game if the league rewarded... If like, a team that plays like that is rewarded with winning an NBA Finals. Like, I think it's just really bad for the integrity of the game. And the league's officiating and all of that stuff. So I'd be okay with any other team winning. The only teams I want to see win, though, are... So the funny situation is that out of the 5 teams remaining... 4 of them I'm okay with. Only 1 is a bad option. But at the same time, I do think that one team that I don't want to win has the best odds of winning overall. I think if they get past Denver, I think they'd be favored in the following series. So that's the tricky situation. There's only one bad outcome of the 5 timelines, but I also think that timeline is maybe the most likely. So really hoping Denver pulls through. Now, out of the 5 remaining teams, there's only 2 teams that I genuinely want to win, which is the Nuggets. Really, that's the team I'm rooting for. And then a consolation thing would be I'd be cool with seeing the Timberwolves win too. Maybe I just become... I could rock with the Anthony Edwards train. Not my favorite player, but like I like the potential and the style and everything like that. So, yeah, Nuggets, great. That's ideal. Timberwolves, okay, consolation prize. I'm cool with that. Knicks, Pacers, Celtics... I don't feel any sort of way. I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't feel any sort of deep way. And then anything past that, the fucking Thunder, I'd just be like, why am I even watching the NBA? All right. Julian Criswell, thanks for the 5. Thoughts on why Oda put Rayleigh in the first half and Scopper in the second half? I think because like, I get what you're saying, which is like, Rayleigh is the bigger deal, so wouldn't you save him for later? I think it's precisely because Rayleigh is a bigger deal that you want to debut him. Like, there's just more impact to being like, we're meeting Silver's Rayleigh. It's 2 things. Rayleigh being earlier, well, first is the initial impact, right? Being introduced to the vice captain of the Roger Pirates, the first mate of the Roger Pirates, that immediately has a much bigger impact in that introduction. If people forget, but like Rayleigh's introduction and his existence period being dropped in the story was kind of mind-blowing for its time. Like, people were not expecting us to meet a real member of the Roger Pirates crew. Like, Crocus was at that point in time, like, we didn't really understand exactly what that meant. But like, just the introduction of a character, first mate of the Roger Pirates, that text box alone was just mind-blowing. It was like, wait, what? The fucking vice captain to Roger, like, and it immediately clicks in your head. It's like, oh, this was Roger's Zorro. Like, that has a lot of weight, and just the realization that that we're meeting members of the crew, and like this guy is representative of like the next best thing to meeting Roger himself that had a lot of impact at the time. It was really, really cool. I think that it becomes a little less impactful if it's like Skopper Gaban, the left hand of the Pirate King. Like, that's not even really a... Like, first mate, right hand, vice captain, those are all terms that are like immediate, intuitive, impactful. Left hand usually only means something once you understand that, like, we've already met the right hand. Okay, it's the right and left hand. Like, it's like an additional piece, you know? But Skopper Gaban, like, he's not the first mate. He's not, like, it's hard to, like, how would he have been titled to be as impactful? It'd be a little harder to understand exactly what, like, we would just be understanding we're meeting a very strong member of the Pirate King's crew. And I think the Sanji parallel only really clicks into place, like once we met Rayleigh, we began to understand that Roger is meant to, like, the same way Roger parallels Luffy, Rayleigh parallels Zoro, and now Skopper Gaban fitting into it is like, okay, Roger had a full-on monster trio, that makes sense. The whole concept of Roger having a monster trio that parallels the Straw Hats monster trio, it only really works if you introduce the full concept of a trio. Does that make sense? Because just introducing the third piece of the trio without really establishing that there was a trio in the first place is not impactful to begin with, right? But first mate, second in command, partner, right hand, all of that has meaning on its own, right? So Skopper's introduction is impactful now because now we've learned more about the Roger Pirates, and we've realized over time, like, especially in Odin's flashback, oh, they actually, it wasn't just Roger and Rayleigh and then a bunch of bums. They actually had seemingly a trio. Like, who's this guy? Who's Skopper Gaban? And so now Skopper's introduction has some meaning, okay? It doesn't really have meaning if you just skip to Skopper, because then you're skipping over too many concepts that give Skopper's presence meaning in the story. How do I say that? So that's number one, why it makes sense to introduce Rayleigh first. Number two is that even though Skopper is being introduced later in the story, Rayleigh ultimately, the one who's introduced first is ultimately the one that was always going to play the much bigger role in the story, right? So Rayleigh is ultimately the more important character than Skopper Gaban. Therefore, Rayleigh is introduced first, because Rayleigh is the one that is there for, obviously, the entire Saboti incident, right? The one that first sheds light on the truth of the One Piece journey and everything. But most importantly, he's the one that organizes the whole 3D, 2Y time skip. Like, Rayleigh is the one who sets that whole thing in motion and explains to Luffy, and then he's the one that becomes Luffy's mentor, right? Whoever was introduced first was going to be Luffy's mentor, which is ultimately the more important role in the grand scheme of things, right? So Rayleigh ultimately is more important than Gaban in the grand scheme of things, right, in terms of the narrative. Therefore, Rayleigh was the one that was going to be introduced first. He's the one that trains Luffy, yada, yada, yada. The silver lining for Gaban is that he gets to come in at a much later point in the story, which is in its own way cooler because the story's progressed so much, and, like, he gets to be the final surprise of the Roger Pirates. Like, we're going to meet the other guy, too, the left hand. He's going to ultimately play a smaller role than Rayleigh did because he's not fucking, like, teaching the next Pirate King. He's not, like, Luffy's not going to be Gaban's protege. He might teach him something. Like, he might teach them all, like, this new type of Haki. That's a possibility, but not for 2 years. Like, he's not going to be, like, Luffy's not going to be a student for 2 years or something like Rayleigh was. So that's the big piece there. Yeah, it just makes sense. If you think about, like, which one's going to be more impactful to come first, and then, like, because Rayleigh is introduced, it now also makes sense. Like, Gaban being introduced later on has impact too, because now we're starting to get the idea that, like, oh wait, Roger actually didn't just have Rayleigh, he had a whole trio. So now that clicks into place. Like, Gaban's introduction has more meaning because it comes after Rayleigh's introduction. And then two, the more important one is ultimately the one that was going to come first, because that's the one that needs to have a bigger impact on the Straw Hat story and Luffy's story, and ultimately become Luffy's mentor for 2 years. Really the bulk of the in-universe timeline of One Piece. All right, continuing on. Mr. MMF2, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 31 months. Yo, Morjussi, loved the last video. Rank these characters Conqueror's Haki. Dio, Madara, Yujiro, Hisoka, Griffith, Sukuna, Eren, Aizen, and Askeladd. That is a really fun question. Love that question. That is a phenomenal question. Phenomenal question. Actually, I'm going to make a little... Here, let me make a little thing for that. That's a really fun question. Hold on. Let me make a little thing. Let me do this. I love shit like that. That's fun. The one I can't rank right in there is Eren. I didn't finish out the story. I didn't finish out the story with Eren. What the hell? Why is it not letting me? What the fuck? Let me log in. Here we go. Let me make a little whatever. All right. Conquerors, Haki, users, ranked. All right, so you gave me... Here, let me screen share real quick. All right, so you gave me... What did you give me? This is my opinion, right? So if you guys disagree, you disagree. Dio, Madara, Yujiro, Hisoka, Griffith, Sukuna, Eren, Aizen, Askeladd. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and say... I'm going to take Eren off the list because I need to finish Attack on Titan. I also never really felt... Like, because the entire time I watched Attack on Titan was before the time skip. Or read Attack on Titan was before the time skip. So post-time skip Eren is kind of like... I don't know that much about him. But pre-time skip Eren never had aura. He never had aura. He was never an aura type character. He was more just like... character that yells a lot and gets upset a lot and was angsty. He never had aura. You never, like, Eren never walked into a room and was like, oh shit, it's fucking, like this dude's really, you know, like, he was just never, he was just the angsty dude, the kid that yelled. I'm sure he transforms a lot, but I don't know if he, like, I don't know enough about post-time skip Eren to say anything, okay? So, out of these characters, Dio is a low Conqueror's Haki user. Dio shits his pants anytime, Joestar fucking comes near him. Dio just has too many moments of like yelling in fear and shit to fucking like I don't know. I think Dio is by far the most, not by far, but I think in terms of his like infamy and notoriety as an anime villain, he is by far the most overrated that I can think of in the anime community. I think it's not even close. I just think Dio, he's a funny meme, but people seem to actually think he's a great villain, which I think is silly. Like, he's a fun, goofy villain, but I think JoJo's fans aren't in on their own joke or something like that, because it's like, he's kind of just like, literally just like a cackling evil vampire that's just, is like, ah ha ha ha, I'm a bad guy. Even in part 7, where you had a slightly more, you know, developed concept of Dio, right? It was immediately completely overshadowed by an actual villain with actual depth and an actual interesting concept and philosophy, like Funny Valentine. Like, the moment you put Dio side by side with, like, an actual villain with some effort of writing put into him, Dio stops being a good villain. I guess this is not about Dio being a good villain or not, but I just don't think Dio ranks high in terms of Conqueror's Haki. Dio. I think Dio's Conqueror's Haki is higher than Hisoka's. Hisoka is very bold in terms of characters that, like, in terms of his beliefs, that, like, I can fight this person, that person. But at the same time, I feel like we've almost never seen... Hisoka doesn't come across as a Conqueror's Haki user type even to me. In that, like, he's not the type that seems like carries a certain weight or presence that just, like, it's not like fucking Meruem walking around, right? Like, if we had Meruem in here, that's a different discussion. Hisoka is like this wily trickster type character. To me, he'd have a Conqueror's Haki comparable to Doflamingo. I think he might actually... rank like this, and I love Hisoka as a character and a villain. For a long time, he was my favorite character in Hunter x Hunter, but I don't think he's like the classic Conqueror's Haki archetype. I also don't think we've seen like great feats of willpower necessarily from Hisoka. And I feel like a lot of times he pursues fights where he's like advantageous, or he just underestimated the opponent. Like he's fucking trying to fight Gon for God knows how long, right? And spoiling a little bit, there is a certain character who is fairly strong that he does get a fight with, but I also feel like he severely underestimated that character. I don't think Hisoka ranks high among these guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and bump these characters up. And so Dio, Hisoka, I think they're down here. Askeladd is tricky, partly because he's tricky, and he is cowardly to some degree. Like, he does run away quite a bit, evade battle, doesn't want to fight straight up. That is not typical Conqueror's Haki behavior. Like, for example, a Thor's or even a Thorkel, they are more classic Conqueror's Haki types, whereas Askeladd is the type that basically is like, I'm not that dude, but I'll figure out some sort of sneaky, tricky way to take you on, and if it doesn't seem likely, then I'm probably not going to do it, right? So Askeladd is not a traditional Conqueror's Haki user, but if you see the way that he goes out, he's got that dog in him at a certain point. Like, the way he goes out raises him several bars. I think sometimes people think, like, Conqueror's Haki is just, like, how cool you think the character is. It's not. I think as a villain, Askeladd ranks very, very high here. Very, very high. He's probably my second favorite villain in this group. If he was around for longer in Vinland Saga, I think he'd be my favorite villain in this group over Griffith. Griffith is an easy one. Griffith is an easy one. He is essentially, his role, his character is literally written to be this sort of transcendental kingly spirit. Like, you literally see him as just a normal dude for the entirety of Golden Age, rise from nothing to become like this king of kings. And the only undoing is basically he has a moment of weakness post Guts getting away. But Griffith has the strongest conquerors. Like, he's written almost to be the archetype, the quintessential concept of a Conqueror's Haki user, right? Like, even Griffith's, like, once Griffith literally is, like, he's shriveled up, unable to walk or move on his own, all of his arms, limbs, and tendons are cut, he still gets back up, using his teeth, continues to try to ride off to continue to pursue becoming a king. Like, becoming the king of kings. Like, he is the ideal concept of what it means to have Conqueror's Haki. So Griffith is number one there. Yujiro is complicated. I'm going to put Sukuna above Askeladd, Yujiro above Sukuna. Aizen, I think, is right under Griffith. I think Aizen is right under Griffith. Aizen is also in that sort of, like, Aizen is just fucking Aizen. He always had this sort of untouchable conqueror's, like, aura around him from the very beginning. Like, literally, like, his fucking scene that he kicks everything off with when he takes off the glasses and rises above, like, everything about Aizen is just, he is that dude. He is, like, if Griffith didn't exist, you might say Aizen is the next one to be written really in that mold. Like, he views himself as the king of kings. He's written to have that sort of energy, even when faced with, like, a character who is also a conqueror's type character, like Yuha-Bak. And Yuha-Bak is clearly stronger than Aizen. In the showdown that they have, it feels as though Aizen is the one that is more kingly and commanding of a character at the end of the day, even though Aizen is ultimately weaker. But that's just because that's how, like, Conqueror's Haki is more about the spirit of your character. Yujiro is a curious case, because Yujiro is just physically stronger than everybody else, so there's no challenge for him ever. Like, ever. He's an interesting case. There's no challenge for him, but he is also that dude. And the one time his dad showed up, he fucking shit his pants. So it's complicated with Yujiro. He's also kind of like an exaggerated caricature of just being like an extremely alpha character. So I don't give it as much weight as like Griffith or Aizen, who are actually written in more serious stories where, like, you see a lot more impactful scenes and showcases of like genuinely being above characters and sort of spirit, vision, drive, all of that. Yujiro, it's kind of like Baki's kind of a meme story, so it's like Yujiro's just the big guy that goes around and kind of like uh big dicks everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and put Yujiro there. I think this is my ranking. Towards the bottom, you got Hisoka, who may not even have Conqueror's Haki, to be honest. He's not quite written like that, in my opinion. Then Dio, who's kind of a meme villain. Askeladd, who, like, it depends how you view... Like, his ending scenes really, really elevate him. You could make a strong argument from his ending scenes that he should be higher. Sukuna... I'm putting him there as like just standard or whatever. Madara, I think, had more of that spirit than Sukuna. Yujiro, like the caricature of extreme alpha energy, but then Aizen and Griffith actually written into the stories with like a lot of effort, creating this sort of persona of like a sort of transcendental king that essentially the entire world has to band together to stop because their vision and plan and spirit is so strong, if that makes sense. So I think this feels right to me. All right. Let's get to the main event. Let me catch up on people's things. Yujiro the type to have really good armament Haki. I think he'd have Conquerors, but it's just hard to evaluate him because like he literally from birth it stated that he was like the physically strongest being on the planet, which is just funny. Shakir, thanks for the 5. Shakir. Play Expedition 33. I know you need Unga Bunga action to be engaged in the game, but this is the exception. It's amazing. I've only heard amazing things about Expedition 33. I will probably play it at some point. It'll go in my list of things. I want to play Baldur's Gate probably first. My girlfriend and I want to play Baldur's Gate. Is Expedition 33 2-player? We saw the trailer. It looks really good, so we might play that at some point soon. Also, let's get the stream likes to 100 real quick. Marcel Beans, thanks for the 2. Toei wants to heavily use AI in the future. I don't know enough about animation to, like, I don't want to jump on, how do I say this? Like, I think, like, AI is very problematic for a lot of reasons, for sure. But I also know that in some cases it, like, is just a tool that helps facilitate some things, right? So I would rather just hear from like actual animators what it means to say that AI is going to be used for scenes now. I don't know enough about animation to really and the exact I know some things, like I know the phrasing of like, you know, when a scene has really good animation, everything is drawn on ones, which means like every single frame is drawn individually. Like I know some things about animation. I might need a bit of a refresher, but I have learned some things. I don't know. I would need to understand what they mean by AI being used, because if it's just a thing to, because I know that like the way that people draw nowadays, right? It's not the same as in fucking Walt Disney's era, right? There's been shortcuts and things that have been developed over time to make things a little bit easier for animators to do their work. I would just need to understand what it means when they say like AI is going to be used. Like, does it mean that AI is just going to generate a scene from scratch? Because I would say that that's really not good. Does it mean that AI is going to make it so that some of animators' work, which is kind of like, just like not redundant, like just chore work, like grind work, like not very creative, or something, like if AI is taking a little, like allowing them to have little shortcuts while still exercising their own creativity, but just allowing them to express their vision better and more easily, and like getting out just some of the grunt aspects of animation and drawing. I feel like that's animators probably like that as a positive, but I don't know enough. So I don't know. It's a subject I don't know enough that I feel comfortable having a statement on. Tom, thanks for the 2. Roger's residual dick Haki kept Rouge pregnant. That'd actually be really funny if Roger left his permanent Haki in his sperm or something like that, and that's why Ace's Haki is so strong. Time out. I'm sorry. Everybody, Big shouts in the chat for TomTom. Before I forget, big shouts in the chat for TomTom. You see everything here? This tier list was assembled by TomTom. So everybody, big W's in the chat for TomTom. He got these images for us, and he's the reason that we're able to to do this tier list easily. So thanks, man, because this is very, very thorough. And I'm going to explain how the tier list works in a second, but I want to see a bunch of shouts in the chat for TomTom. And thank you again, man. I really, really do appreciate it. If you got any special requests, then let me know. I'll weigh your opinion slightly higher than the masses when it comes to trying to determine where some of these power-ups go. Old Green Knees. No, we covered... Oh, Old Green Knees, thanks for the 2. Wano Act 4. Blackbeard lets out Kaido and Big Mom. Hey, I think it's possible... How likely do you guys think it is that Kaido and Big Mom get out at all? Morj pays me with defect Morj plushies. There are no more Morj plushies in existence. All the ones that will ever be produced have been produced. Let's see. Will Kaido and Big Mom be released? Yes. I've done this poll before, but I'm just curious to see if people's opinions have changed. When I did that theory video about Blackbeard potentially freeing Kaido and Big Mom, like, there's 2 categories of theory videos that I do. There are ones that I feel... I guess 3. There are ones where I feel like, oh, this is very, very solidly possible. And, like, I tend to believe it. So that would be, for example, Gunko is a Ginny clone. Like, that's very possible, and I personally believe it. Then there's ones that I feel like extremely, extremely certain of. So, or not extremely certain of, like, I strongly, strongly believe. So, for example, no, like, extremely certain of, I would say. Like, very, very strongly feel about. So, like, that would be, like, I believe Blackbeard will take Loki's fruit. I believe that Loki's fruit is ultimately destined for Blackbeard. That's one that I feel very, very strongly about, and I feel like the entire narrative is pointing towards that. Also, Blackbeard getting Pluton. I feel very confident about certain Blackbeard theories. So there's that category. And then the final category is the other end of the spectrum, which is theories that, like, to me are interesting what-ifs, and I think have a solid possibility of happening, but it's not like I would ever bet money on them. To me, Kaido and Big Mom being released, either and or both of them by Blackbeard, I'm like, I could definitely see this happening. I could see this setup. Oda does like to bring back past villains. He could bring them back in some format, especially if Blackbeard's going to be fucking up Wano's geography with his Earthquake Fruit as he attempts to free Pluton. I could see that happening. I see a place for them in the final war as essentially, like, boss battles for side characters. And I could see ways that, like, even if they could come out and, like, be a different version of themselves. Like, maybe they're turned into human experiments if they come out in an injured state or something. We have so many characters that like to experiment on other characters and stuff like that. So there's a lot of avenues, but I don't think there's, like, a ton of signs in the story that they are going to return. This is an interesting split. So, like, 50% of people think both will come out. And then another 10... So about 60% of people actually in chat right now think it is likely that at least one of them is going to be revealed. So at this point, the majority think that at least one of them is going to be revealed. My thought is that if Big Mom's released, like, it better be a both thing. If just Big Mom is released, I think this is a fucking terrible, terrible decision for the story. Because it's literally one of the least... Maybe the single least popular major One Piece villain of all time is Big Mom. And Oda has decided to use her as the primary villain for 2 of the longest arcs in the story back to back. So she's been a primary villain of the story for like 250 straight chapters, and then bringing her back again for the fucking final war is just insanity. It's like, who is he writing this character for? I don't know. But if you bring back Kaido and Big Mom, it's more spicy, because then it's like, it's the duo. They're more palatable as a duo, in my opinion, than just Big Mom. Like, bringing Kaido back is exciting. Bringing Kaido and Big Mom back is exciting. Bringing just Big Mom back is just, like, painful. Damn. Now it's like 65% of people. It's like a solid majority of people believe that at least one of them is coming back. That's interesting. Julian Criswell, thanks for the 5. Do you think Akainu actually got nerfed sitting at the desk? Sengoku went from fighting with Garp against Roger/Shiki to not knocking out pre-time skip Luffy. Sengoku not knocking out pre-time skip Luffy is kind of insane. It's really, really insane. Like, it's really fucking insane. That was just a plot thing at the end of the day. Like, Oda had to have Luffy not get, like, one-shotted by Sengoku. It was kind of stupid, but it is what it is. I don't think Sengoku just was older at that point in time. You know, I don't think it's because of sitting at a desk. Because, I mean, it's the same logic as, like, I don't think Dragon's gotten weaker just because he hasn't really done anything for the last 2 years. When Oda wants characters to be a certain strength, he's just going to write them at that certain strength. Like, I don't think Mihawk has fought anyone of note for the last 2 years, you know? Like, he's just been chilling at his island, maybe hunting, like, fodder like Don Krieg and shit, like he seems to do. But I don't think that's a thing. I think generally speaking, Oda tries to make it fairly clear when characters have declined from their prime. Like, he will state it over and over, or he will notably draw them differently, right? Like, Whitebeard Oda made very, very clear he's on fucking life support from the very get-go. They comment on his medical state, like his health state, many, many times throughout Marineford. Oda wanted to make very, very clear to the reader as much as possible that Whitebeard is not at full health. Garp, Oda has had Garp state several times in the story that his power has declined, so the reader understands that this is not prime Garp. And Sengoku, I think Sengoku, interestingly, seemed to have declined. Like, the version of Sengoku that we saw at Marineford, I think was not as declined as Garp was, because Oda had been making a big deal about Garp's physical decline. With Sengoku, looking at him, you would never guess that he's, like, past his prime the way, like, Garp and Whitebeard are. But I think the Sengoku that we see post-time skip, Oda's made very clear, like, this dude, he's white-haired, he's old, he's retired, he's not going to be as strong as he once was. All that being said, Akainu is right now still in that age range that Oda tends to write characters as still being at full strength, you know? So I don't think that's the case. If anything, I think it's possible that maybe Akainu had a Haki bloom over the course of his fight with Aokiji. D-Man X11X, thank you for the 10, man. Usopp will be the first to use permanent Haki on his projectile. Already awakened above average observation unconsciously. Allows him to be the hero momentarily. Unique scenario where only he can damage. That would be really cool. That would be really, really cool. So, funnily enough, people pointed out that the Amazon Lily archers were seemingly maybe the first use of permanent Haki. And, like, that's kind of funny because the Amazon Lily characters are fucking weak as fuck. But, like, I view this as more so a skill rather than something that you need to be super strong to do. Let's get the streamlights up to 100 because we're almost there. Hoops, thanks for the 5. Could the Will of D be from infused Haki that passes through each generation? Could the Will of D be a form of infused... maybe, but I really fucking hope not. I like the idea of, like, passing on will in the metaphorical sense, not in the literal sense. Like, you're passing on literal powers, like, you know, like the One for All quirk or something like that, you know? Cody Long, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 4 months, man. I want to share that my asshole manager got caught cheating on his wife with an employee. With you? Oh, shit. That's crazy, man. Have a great stream, Morj, while I write up an ethics report. God damn. Yeah, you tell him what that manager did to you. That ain't right. Thank you, Cody Long. I'm just kidding. I hope Thank you for the support. Damn, though. That's crazy. Managers be abusing their power. I wonder how that went down at work. Like, how everyone's probably talking about him now. Stormfox, thanks for the 2. Midora is a Madara level villain stuck in Torika. Torika or Toriko? I don't know enough about Toriko. People used to recommend Toriko to me a lot. I assume you mean Toriko. People used to recommend Toriko to me a lot. I tried reading the first couple chapters. I immediately had to drop it because Toriko is a series about food. I'm not kidding when I tell you I literally could not read a story that centers a lot around delicious food. This is going to sound so fucking stupid. I would feel hungry watching that, like reading that. Like anytime I'm reading or watching something that like I can just read a One Piece chapter that happens to feature a big meal and that doesn't matter. That's totally fine. But I'm saying if it's like chapter after, like if it's a regular mainstay staple of the story, like creating like very elaborate, very like delicious meals and dishes, that's not something I can like. I can't do that. I can't really watch that. It's kind of like my girlfriend and I, we liked watching the Great British Baking Show when it was out, I think, like last summer. We actually liked watching that. That was nice. But uh, I could not watch that unless I also had something, like had some sort of dessert or like some sort of sweet thing to be eating in conjunction with watching that. Because otherwise, I'm just watching them work on like desserts for like an hour, and I'm just like, fuck, I wish that could be me. Could wish I'd like, it just doesn't. I need something that's satisfying my own food craving if I'm going to be watching something that has a heavy emphasis on food and delicious food, like delicious dishes, all of that. That's a me thing. So I could never do Toriko like that. I may have eventually tried it. Like, if people really pushed me, I might have eventually tried it. But then I heard that the ending was very rushed, so that kind of sealed it off for me forever. I'm like, okay, just don't need to get into it. Just leave it. Aether, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 26 months, man. Thank you for the long time support, man. I really, really do appreciate it. Please check out Hajime no Ippo manga. Oh, that's another one that's like on my list, but I realistically probably will never actually read. Don't worry that it looks old or seems long. Chapters can be short. I put it off at first and I regretted it. Great humor and fights. Trust me, top 5 worthy. I've never heard anyone say anything negative about Hajime no Ippo. I imagine it's a great story. I read the first chapter or so way back when, and I was turned off because I really disliked the art style. I just really, really disliked the art style. That's no disrespect to people who like the art style, personal preference thing. If you want to shit on me for that, whatever. I just didn't vibe with it. Something felt just off-putting and not warm or enjoyable for me. I did not like the art style. I don't think I like the main character. Generally, especially if it's a heavily character-based story, I think I have to like the main character quite a bit to get into it. It's a similar reason I didn't like Solo Leveling at first, because I thought the main character was a bitch. But then a few episodes in, and it's just like, this is like totally different character. I fucking love. So I'm not gonna lie, Sung Jin Woo is straight up my favorite main character to follow for any anime and manga. Luffy doesn't count. Luffy's too ingrained in my life story, I think. Like, I tend to not count One Piece for a lot of these things. Sung Jin Woo is literally my favorite main character to follow. He's just so much fun to follow. And at first, I can't believe that was one of the reasons I did follow Solo Leveling at first, because I was just like, this bitch, I don't want to follow this bitch. It's just too, I just don't want to follow this guy. But Hajime no Ippo, I think that was another thing early on. I've heard that the character writing is actually really, really, really phenomenal for that series. I just don't know if I would enjoy it like that. I don't know. Quiet says that's what everyone says about One Piece. So a thing with One Piece is that, like, One Piece is... So there's certain series where you can not enjoy the main character, but it's not just about the main character. Like, One Piece is a... Like, look, One Piece is... One Piece has one of the vastest casts of characters in, like, fiction, right? Like, there are so many characters you could, like, there are plenty of people who cannot fuck with Luffy. I think it's really hard to enjoy One Piece if you don't fuck with Luffy, because it's so Luffy-centric. But at the same time, like, there are so many characters in One Piece that you could really, really enjoy. Like, if you read chapter 1, you can maybe not enjoy Luffy, but you like Shanks. And so now you can be like, you know, Eric and Christian Turlato and just read the series for Shanks, you know? You can not like Luffy, and you can just become a Zoro fan. And there are a lot of people who just read the story for Zoro, and they're going to be satisfied reading the story for Zoro because, like, Oda's going to give Zoro a lot of shit. Sanji, you might have a rough go of it if you're reading the story for Sanji, because you might be in a drought for some time before you get stuff. But, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, One Piece has so many characters that we're always following that, you know, like, and you hit the post-time skip and maybe becomes less Straw-centric, but then a lot of people latch on to characters like Trafalgar Law or something like that, you know? Or Sabo, or whoever, right? Like, One Piece has so many characters that, even though it is very Luffy-centric, you don't have to be... He can kind of be just your avatar for being guided through this world, and you can enjoy a myriad of other characters, and let that be the main draw for you. But series like, let's say, Hajime no Ippo, I imagine, from what my understanding is, you're going to have a rough go if you don't fuck with the main character and his journey, because my understanding, and I might be wrong, is that Hajime no Ippo is a very, very, very character-focused story, and specifically on the main character and his journey. I might be wrong on that, but that's my understanding, right? Like, it's mainly focused on his character journey. So I imagine if you don't fuck with that character that much, it's not gonna be quite the same. In the same way, like, if you watch Solo Leveling, which I know is nowhere near the depth or character writing of Hajime no Ippo, I'm just talking as a just basic concept analogy. If you watch Solo Leveling and you don't like Sung Jin Woo, you are not going to enjoy Solo Leveling. Because it's all just fucking about Sung Jin Woo, and everybody else is like clear. It's not just side characters; they're accessories to his story. So that's the thing. Like, if I didn't like the character right off the bat, I don't know. I don't even like. I think Luffy is a phenomenal character. I think he's a phenomenal and very, very unique main character. That's the thing. I don't think there's any other main character like Luffy. That, like, he will always be one of the most unique characters main characters in fiction. But all I'm saying is that even if you don't like Luffy that much, that's okay, because in fact, it is almost a rarity that an arc actually focuses on Luffy's character development. Luffy is going to be the guy that comes in and beats the big bad at the end of the story, but it is very rare in One Piece that we are following an arc and the primary character writing focus is around Luffy. Like, most arcs are going to focus on the character writing of other characters. Like, Egghead, there's no fucking character writing for Luffy. All the character writing that we all praised was Kuma, Bonnie, Kobe, Aokiji, Kizaru, like, all those other characters. You see what I'm saying? Like, Wano, there's no fucking character. Well, Wano doesn't have great character writing in general. I guess you could argue Momonosuke, but, like, so Wano, for example. But in general, there are very few storylines you can point to, and it's like, okay, Oda's writing this storyline specifically around Luffy as a character. Most One Piece's character writing is around other characters, side characters. So you can not care that much for Luffy and still get a ton of really good character writing in One Piece. Yeah, you can enjoy Hunter x Hunter without liking Gon. Gon's not even in the fucking story anymore, at least for the moment. I think Hunter x Hunter is a great example. There are a lot of stories where you can just really, really love it without necessarily caring for the main character's character writing. Like, I think My Hero falls in that category. A lot of shonen that feature large ensemble casts. And then there's I think Naruto is a harder one. I think Naruto is fairly Naruto-focused, if not Sasuke-focused. But Bleach, flip side, Bleach is a series that you can really enjoy even if you don't care for Ichigo that much. Like, in Thousand Year Blood War, Ichigo almost gets no fights. Everybody else gets a shit ton of fights. I think, like, I feel like Kenpachi gets, like... How many fights does Ichigo win in Thousand Year Blood War? Is it fucking 0? I don't think he wins any fights. Unless you count that BS with Yhwach at the end. I guess he beats that Quincy at the beginning, Quilge, and then that's it, right? You could watch if you want to watch Thousand Year Blood War and your favorite characters like Kenpachi or Hitsugiya or Byakuya, you will get to or Mayuri, you will get to watch a shit ton of other characters, like get a lot of focus and shit, you know? Anyway. Alright, let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Look up Midora for me, says Stormfox. Okay, I'll look up Midora. Oh, shit. I'm going to show you guys this. This is pretty badass. It is very rare that a character design alone makes me think, like, damn, this series might be cool to get into. This is pretty crazy. This is Kaido before Kaido. But I managed to copy it. That's what Oda's thinking. Oda's thinking that with... Oh my god, this dude's just Kaido before Kaido. Oda's like, but I managed to copy it. Oh my god. Damn. This character's pretty cool. There's no way I'm going to read Toriko just because I think one character design is cool. I'm not going to do that. But that is, you made a good case right there. That's pretty sick. Joseph eBay, thanks for the 5. Yo, Morj, if you had to live vicariously through a One Piece character, who'd it be? Also, thoughts on Adam Silver, a.k.a. Vince McMahon. You're saying because the NBA is rigged and stuff? Okay, I got some quick thoughts. So let's answer the One Piece question first, so that people don't complain about basketball. That's a phenomenal question, because you could look at it two ways. If I had to live through a One Piece character in like the flow of the story, like everything that's gonna happen in the story happens to me, that's one thing. If you're saying like just imagine a day in the life of a One Piece character, that's a totally different thing. So for example, like if I were to say something like, oh, I'd like to live as Shanks, right? Well, Shanks is going to probably fucking die in like an arc or so to Blackbeard. So I feel like that's like a no-go, right? But if the question is like, who would you like to live a day in the life as? Then suddenly Shanks becomes a really fun option, because it seems like he has a pretty chill life going around, leader of Yonko Fleet, etc. Leader for Yonko Fleet, gets to go around the world or whatever, drink at various bars, just have a relaxed life, and he has a bunch of territories that are under his protection or whatever, and that's pretty chill, because nobody tends to really fuck with the red-haired pirates. They don't fuck with Yonko in general, right? So that'd be fun, right? So those are two very different questions. So same with like Mihawk, because I think Mihawk would be a phenomenal day in the life type thing. Like if I could just live as Mihawk, like Mihawk's just fucking chilling. He's traveling around the seas, doesn't need a navigator, doesn't need nothing. He's just got a casual life, goes around killing time or whatever. Nobody fucks with him. He's the world's strongest swordsman. He's got to deal with the world government. He's a Shichibukai, or was a Shichibukai, so there's no Marines on his ass. Mihawk's got a phenomenal life too. But if I were to say in the flow of the story, do I want to be Mihawk? Well, it's like in the flow of the story, I would currently be having to fucking shack up with Cross Guild, which is like this bum-ass organization that's currently broke or whatever, and like we're just trying to figure out how to make do. And like, you know, last we saw like from Mihawk's own mouth, he's not like particularly excited about like I don't blame him. Like, who wants to do this, you know? Red hair, Blackbeard, Straw Hat, you want us to fight all of them at once? And it's like, you want us to fight all of them at once? It's gonna be fucking me, Mihawk, having to fucking fight all of them, right? Who the fuck am I gonna rely on? Crocodile and Daz Bones against like 10 other Yonko officers? I don't know. Like, in the flow of the story, Mihawk's life currently sucks. And it's gonna get worse, because the one thing he's got going for him, which is my title, World's Strongest Swordsman, that I've spent decades attaining, I'm gonna fucking lose that to Zoro. So then I'll just be a bum that's like on the worst Yonko crew, not the world's strongest swordsman. It's just like, what's my, like, what is the meaning to my life at that point, you know? Do you get what I'm saying? So it's a complicated question. Are we going by, I guess I can just like do two answers. We can do two answers. So if we're going by day in the life, Emu as king, that's actually a really good answer. But it's really fucked up, right? Because like, then you're slavery, genocide, all of that. Let me read your question again. If I had to live vicariously through a One Piece character, so could I impose my morals on the situation? Like, if I choose to live as Mihawk, could I decide not to go like fucking killing random pirates for no reason, you know? I don't think I would go around just murdering entire fleets of people who just entered the New World for no reason. That's not my thing. So if I'm allowed to just choose to live their life, but like be put in their situation, their strength, abilities, influence, overall capability, but I get to make my own decisions, then I'd probably pick Emu. And no, but then Emu, I'd feel like the urge to have responsibility because I'm like, well, I'm god of the world and I made the world a really shitty place. So now I've got to tell the Gorosei, hey, we're changing everything up. I'd have to think of so many new systems of government. I would just have to like fix the entire thing from the ground up. So Emu's off the table. I don't want to be any Emu, Gorosei, anything. So that's off the table. It's just too much responsibility. Definitely not a Marine. Their lives suck. They're just pencil pushers who are shipped around to do things. Kaido and Big Mom, they've just got too much. They had too much shit going on. Like Kaido's building this whole army. That's not fun. That's not, whatever. Big Mom, she's doing all this. I think it'd be Shanks or Mihawk. If I could live vicariously, Shanks has a more fun life, but I'm also a bit more like I need alone time too. Like I like being social and doing social things, obviously, but I don't know if I'd want to be sailing around with my crew all the fucking time and like hanging out with friends at each island all the time. But I wouldn't want to be as lonely as Mihawk, where it's literally just me sailing the ocean by myself for days on end. I don't have a book or anything to read. I don't have phone or internet. I literally, all I do is I pose, I look cool in case somebody happens to see me as I'm sailing around. And then I have to go live on my island with just monkeys. Is Perona on the island? Do I have anybody? Is Zoro on the island? I don't know. Is there anybody? Am I literally just by myself? I think I would lean towards Shanks, living as Shanks. But Shanks has responsibilities, whereas Mihawk doesn't have responsibilities. I think I'd pick one of those two. I think most other people's... Those are the only two good options. I think those are the only two good options to live as because they're set in that they're... Day in the life, they're set in that they're at the top of their respective worlds, right? Like, Shanks is a Yonko, which means nobody, Marines, world government, other Yonko, they don't really fuck with you because that's overall war. So you have max freedom. Mihawk, same thing. Float around the ocean, do whatever you want, max freedom. And they don't have, like, ongoing, really high-level conflicts or responsibilities. Like, Kaido's got a whole situation, like he's got to really run a tight ship on the Beast Pirates, and like he's doing this whole Onigashima, he's doing this whole plan to like reinvent the wheel and like start this big war and all that stuff and like create a new nation in Wano. And Big Mom, she's all these schemes too. Like Shanks and Mihawk are the only two characters that are like in One Piece, in the One Piece world, to have a good life, the first thing you need to do is you have to be at the top of the food chain. All right, anybody that's not at the top of the food chain, your life is a struggle. Like, you can even be one step down the food chain and you're living in fear. Like, Doflamingo one step down the food chain and he's got most things under control, but he still lives in fear of, like, what if my business goes wrong? What if Kaido comes after me? What if, like, the admirals come after me? Stuff like that, right? Even the admirals, right? They're not the tippy top of the food chain in that, like, if they disobey shit, then they're going to fucking jail because other admirals or whatever. Like, there's lines that can't be crossed. You're still working for somebody, whatever. Supernova, obviously, definitely not at the top of the food chain. You're fighting against Yonko. Generally, Grand Line, like, almost nobody is top of the food chain, right? So you really just want to be someone like Shanks or Mihawk, where you're top of the food chain, but you're not like Kaido, Big Mom, where you've got also or Dragon, where you've got responsibilities and a whole lot of situation going on. Shanks has a bit of responsibilities, but he mostly just keeps things the way they're supposed to be without too much trouble. He's not very goal-oriented. And then Mihawk has no responsibilities, but he's also got he's just maybe too isolated. I don't think I could do the Mihawk life. Rayleigh's got a good life going for him. Rayleigh's got a very good life going for him. And Scopper Gaban has a really good life going for him. Maybe Rayleigh or Scopper Gaban's where it's at. They're both happily married. This is a very good question. Sorry it's taking so long. Yeah, maybe I do. The thing is that Rayleigh and Scopper Gaban, they're not quite at the top of the food chain, so like shit could go down. Like if the world government really decided that we're capturing Silver's Rayleigh today, Kizaru, you're fighting to the death against Silver's Rayleigh to bring him in, then it'd be a problem. But that's really not going to happen, That's really not going to happen. Like, it just doesn't day in the like that's usually just they're not going to try and really do that, you know? They've kind of just left me alone. Same with Scopper. So I think being Shanks would be the best. I think Mihawk would be really good too, but I just think at a certain point it's just too much isolation, and you don't have, all you can do is read the news. You don't have the internet. You don't have books. You would just get bored at a certain point. So I think it'd have to be Shanks because your life is somewhat lively. I don't know if I'd want to sail around with like a whole fucking crew all the time and like be drinking at bars and shit all the time. So that's the one drawback with Shanks, but I think it's slightly better than the full isolation of Mihawk. So day in the life, we're taking Shanks. But if I had to live through a One Piece character's life vicariously, as in all the way through the end, then obviously it's going to be a Straw Hat. I would pick like either Luffy or Zoro. Luffy, I think, might die I think Zoro's a good pick. Zoro's a solid pick because you're going to end the story as the world's strongest swordsman. You accomplished your dream. And I think his dream is the coolest out of the Straw Hats besides Luffy. So I would firstly feel really, really cool if I'm the world's strongest swordsman. I'd feel really accomplished, give a good sense of accomplishment. You'd probably be like end of story, top few strongest characters on the planet. It's cool. And you probably have, like, I imagine the Straw Hats kind of disband at the end of the story, so then you have freedom to fuck off and go do your own thing. So I think Zoro because I think Zoro end of story will be like basically getting to live Mihawk's life the way Mihawk does right now. But I think Zoro might be slightly more social. So that could be fun. Yeah, I think you'd want to pick something like Zoro. I think that's a good pick. I think I'd go with, if I had to live their actual story from now to the end of the story, I'd pick Zoro. Luffy, I'm worried might die. That's the reason I don't pick Luffy, because I think he might die at the end of it. I also, yeah, I don't know if he died. He might die at the end of it. I don't want to deal with that potential whatever. I think Luffy will also be too much the center of attention at the end of the story if he doesn't die. So, like, I don't want to be somebody that's, like, the most focused on person on the planet, you know? Zoro will obviously be very famous or whatever, but, like, you could probably be a little bit more low-key or incognito as Zoro, right? Kind of the same way that, like, Rayleigh can get by without everybody recognizing him right away. All right. I don't think there's anybody else that would be a good pick. If I'm like Kobe or some shit, then that means I gotta run the fucking Marines. I don't want to run the Marines. Yeah, I want to accomplish my dream, feel really good about the dream I accomplished, feel complete security in that I'm one of the few strongest people in the world, and I can just basically chill out, do what I want, go my own way, etc. Yeah, I think that's perfect. I think Zoro would be the character I want to... if I had to live out what they do over the course of the story, I'd pick Zoro. The problem is that Zoro is going to have to experience a lot of pain. He tends to be a character that gets fucked up a lot. Like a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if I had to live through his life from the beginning of the story, that means I would have to experience the fucking Mr. One fight where I'm getting fucking shredded up by like a lawnmower in my stomach. I'd have to experience nothing happened. I would have to experience whatever the fuck happened to me at Onigashima, where all the bones in my body broke, and then I got an injection steroid to keep fighting, and then I got fucked up again. Like, it's just a lot of pain that you kind of got to go through. Yeah, it's just complicated. It's complicated. Yeah. All right. Yeah, like, the life Zoro will eventually get to live is perfect. That's ideal. But what you got to go through to get there is maybe the most painful path. Luffy's is also a very physically painful path, but Zoro's is almost like unnecessarily painful. It's like comically painful, where like the story opens with you being starved on a cross. Literally day one, your introduction is like, how's Zoro's story begin? It's like, oh, I'm fucking being starved to death on a cross. Oh, what happens the next arc? Fucking Buggy stabs me in the stomach, and then I fight this like acrobat who like proceeds to kick the shit out of my wound a bunch. And then like 2 arcs later, the world's strongest swordsman pretty much cuts me in half, and then I have to recover from that for like the next arc. Yeah, like Zoro just gets fucked up a lot from the beginning of the story. Luffy starts getting fucked up more as the story progresses, but with Zoro it's just like weirdly just nonstop from day one. It's just like from jump, it's like He's just made to suffer. Anyway. All right. Let's continue on. Living as Frankie would be best? No, because I don't like manual labor. I don't like having to build shit. If it was my job on the crew to have to build things, it would just be, it would be like, that would be my worst nightmare. It'd be like, some shit broke down. Frankie, can you fix our mast? I'd be like, I don't know how to do that, man. Obviously, I guess I would have Frankie's skills and stuff, but I also don't enjoy having to do that, right? So, assuming I don't just automatically get Frankie's personality, it's like me getting to live as Frankie, I would just be like, I fucking hate this. Why do I have the worst job on the crew? This fucking sucks. I also don't like cooking. That's why I eat Factor all the fucking time. I don't like cooking. So, if I was Sanji, I'd just be like, I know I have the abilities to cook now, but I'm not gonna. We're ordering Factor using code Morj50. Just go to factor75.com and use code Morj50 to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. I'm also not fucking joking. Factor food is good. It's genuinely really, really good. Like, I used to, way back, I used to eat like from Sweet Green all the time because that was my way of eating healthy. But Factor, I get to actually fucking mix up my meals. My girlfriend is also a very good cook, but we need food for like in between days when she's not making something. So Factor is really, really good. You can pick basically whatever you want. Like if you order steak from Factor, it's gonna be fucking good steak. Strongly recommended. In fact, I'll just recommend it right here. I'm not gonna pin it. Instead, I'll pin this. So, most of you are probably looking at the posters in the background and you're thinking, how do I get those? All the posters are now available. Every single poster that we have. So we've got the whole world of One Piece here. Everything. This is all in order, by the way. Windmill Village, Baratier, Arlong Park, Loketown. Here, let me pin this for you guys. Oh, Tom, you're saying some. Sorry, let me showcase this first. Every single poster that we've ever had. Arlong Park, Loketown, Reverse Mountain, Drum Kingdom, Alabasta, Skypiea. And if you buy 2, you get another 2 free. So you can buy 2, get 2 free. Pretty crazy good deal. Chandra, Water 7, Enies Lobby, whatever your favorite island is. O'Hara, Thriller Bark, version 2 of Thriller Bark. Saboti, Amazon Lily, Impel Down, Marine Ford, Kamabaka, Tequila Wolf with Area. We got the time skip islands as well. Fishman Island, Punk Hazard. Punk Hazard is fucking beautiful. Dressrosa, Zoe, Marijua, Whole Cake version 2, Wano version 2, Onigashima. God Valley looks fucking epic. Egghead again. Hachinosu's. Elbaf Knight might still be my favorite. I got to take a look. We'll do a tier list again at the end of all of this. But they're all available this month. Every single poster available. You could buy 2, get 2 free. Elbaf, because we're ending the whole collection. The whole collection is being wrapped this month. So get it while you can. Let me pin this for you guys. Wait, what the fuck? Why didn't the link come through? Why is the link not coming through? Link's supposed to paste. Here we go. There we go. Yeah, everything is here. Everything is here for you guys. It's all there. So whatever poster you like best, you get it. You like 4, you like 2, buy 2, you get another 2 free. So they're all there. The entire world of One Piece is now there. All right. Continuing on. All right, let's get to the... Oh, wait, no. I got some other supers to get through, and then we'll get to the tier list. Kiki, thanks for the 2. The art changes / strengthens as it goes like One Piece. The art of the island posters, because I do agree with that. I do agree that Dredge, the artist, he ups his game as it goes on. Because if you look at the posters that we have now, the final posters, which are ironically the first islands in One Piece, we wanted to end it where it started. I find these posters to be like a lot more evolved than the first batch that we did, which was like Wano, Whole Cake, and Egghead. Although those posters still look really, really good, I just think that there's a lot more gradation and style to these ones. All right. Where are we going? All Are you saying the art of Hajime no Ippo strengthens as it goes? I could believe that. I really didn't like the art at the beginning. Aether, thanks for the 5-man. You're mistaken. Ippo does have a great cast. If you don't fuck with Ippo, you will learn to. There are other great characters that get focus. Okay, I didn't realize that. That's good to know. That's good to know. Maybe I'll get into it. But it's mainly about him as a boxer, right? Like, it's not a team sport. It's boxing. Isn't it mainly focusing on his journey as a boxer? Strach Shako, thanks for the 2. Number 1 power-up, no doubt, was creating Big Emperor. Oh, I fucking forgot about that. Let's get into the power-ups. Man. The art of Hajime no Ippo is what I think they're talking about, Mr. Morj. You told me to refresh this, right? Here, let me refresh. Morj read Kaiji. All right, thanks, man. All right, I did need to refresh that, but you know what? We'll roll with it. Okay, so let me explain how the tier list works. Then I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick, and then I'm gonna come back and we will start the tier list. So the things that are listed here are, first of all, it's character specific. We have all the character specific power-ups that could be thought of. So like Chopper's Rumble Ball, things like that. And then we also have broader power-ups. So observation, like this just represents armament Haki in general. So like, how do we like the concept of armament Haki in the story? Observation Haki in general, Conqueror's Haki in general. Does that make sense? It's the concepts in general. So a lot of these, like this is Advanced Conqueror's Haki, Rio, stuff like that. So it's a mix of basically character-specific things and then the broad concepts, like how do we like armament Haki in general, observation Haki in general. And we also get into the specifics of observation Haki. So like, this is just normal observation Haki. This is future sight. All right. All right, let's get into it. Let me check my phone real quick. Sorry, 1 second. What's going on here? All right, we're about to get into it. Let me go to the bathroom real quick, and then we will start. All right. Let's get into it. Also, let's get the streamlights up to 150 real quick. Morj gone, no rules, anarchy. Hey, this is your tier list that you created. You should want me to fill it out. All right, getting into it. 1 second. So first up, we got obviously Rumble Ball. I think I like the... Here's how we're going to view it. We're going to treat it as... Because if we look at the Rumble Ball over the course of the story, it's lame, right? Like, the Rumble Ball is no longer exciting. But I don't view it like that. To me, it's more so like, how exciting was it in its prime? If that makes sense. Like, pre-time skip is when the Rumble Ball was really a thing. Like, Gear Second is no longer exciting, but we would more so go by how we viewed Gear Second, you know, in the section of the story that it really mattered and was relevant. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like Diablo Jambé is now irrelevant because Ifrit Jambe is a thing, but that doesn't mean Diablo Jambe is not cool. It's just, it's been replaced by something else, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put Rumble Ball in A, because I think Rumble Ball is actually one of the cooler... I think Rumble Ball is genuinely a really, really cool idea. Because the Zoan transformations are very simple as a concept. It's just like turn into an animal or turn into a hybrid form of the animal. I feel like the Rumble Ball really diversified. Like, it was a very diverse way of fighting for Chopper. It was really, really fun to see a lot, because like Heavy Point's a simple form or whatever, but then seeing him transform between like using scope to track their weakness, you get jumping point for agility, horn point or arm point to like finish things off, guard point for defense. Like, I think Rumble Ball was a really, really creative concept for Oda to make Chopper's fighting style fun. And I think it was hard, especially because you had Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, who were already like physical fighters. Like, they fought with punches, especially Luffy and Sanji fight with punches and kicks. So to diversify Chopper, even though Chopper's not as strong as them, I like the idea that Oda went the route of like, well, Chopper's really versatile. Like, he can't punch as hard as them or hit as hard as them or something like that, but he can do all of these other things that that make him an interesting fighter as well. So I think Rumble Ball is actually really, really cool. I think post time skip, it's fucking terrible, because now post time skip, it's just, it turns him into Monster Point, right? So I'm going to put Rumble Ball there. Ender Ainami, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 32 months, man. Seriously, thank you for the long time support. Always love seeing you in the streams, man. All the best power-ups in the series come from pre-time skip, not because of nostalgia, but for the sheer fact that you can unequivocally, without a doubt, tell when they're being used, and no holding back or vagueness BS. Yeah, Haki's... Man, Haki's going to be in some trouble once we get to it. I think that's the problem. Like, it's going to be in some trouble. You know what? So for today's video, I was actually going back through some chapters because I was seeing for reference, right? So for today's video, I was going back to see some chapters, and there's something that made me laugh, okay? So with all the vagueness and confusion that comes with, like, with what type of Haki is being used, right? I'm like, all it would take is Oda, like, having the character stated, right? Or some visual indicator, or having the character stated, right? What is fucking hilarious to me, like, we go through all of Egghead with so many different uses of Haki. Like, Zoro uses something to defeat Lucci, and then there's a fight where he's got flames around his swords, and then it's like Luffy punches Kizaru, and it's like, was that Conqueror's Haki, Advanced Conqueror's Haki? Whatever Luffy's using on the Gorosei, what is that? Like, what did they use on the Seraphim? There's so many moments that there's just questions, right? All throughout Egghead. All throughout fucking Egghead. Readers didn't even fucking know if Garb's Galaxy Impact was Conqueror's Haki or not. Advanced Conqueror's Haki or Armament Haki. We still don't know what Kobe's move was, okay? So you know what was really fucking funny? So I was just reading this. Where's the fucking... Yeah. I guess it's one chapter back. So I was reading this fight between Luffy and Scopper Gaban. And Oda has, like, infinite chances throughout Egghead just to have characters just literally just say what is happening. Like, make some comments. Say what's happening. He doesn't do it. For all of Egghead, he doesn't do it, right? So many instances that we're just confused. How many times do we have the Haki debate? We just don't know. He doesn't do it. He doesn't have a character say jack shit. And then, we get to the Gabad fight. You guys see this shit? Gaban does something that is the most basic use of Haki ever. It's literally just coating the... It's something we've seen a million times, right? He coats the key black, right? And Oda has Luffy say the most basic, fucking obvious, redundant line you could ever possibly imagine. Luffy's like, Haki? Haki? To understand what I'm saying, do you realize how fucking stupid this is? There are a million times in the story where some advanced Haki technique is being used, and we have no fucking visual indicator at all as to what is going on. We have visual indicators, but they're vague and we want clarification, right? And characters don't say jack shit to clarify for us. In this case, when Gaban is doing the most straightforward thing that we've seen a million times in the story, which is coating a weapon black, this is the one case where Oda actually has a character, Luffy, comment and say, in case the reader didn't fucking realize, Gaban's using Haki right now. In this moment, Oda was like, I should have Luffy say Haki. So that, as though this is the most common fucking thing that every fucking bum in the New World has been using since fucking, like, Fishman Island. He's like, I'd better make Luffy have a surprise reaction to this character using Haki, and I'm gonna call out, in case the reader didn't realize, Haki is being used here. Luffy's just like, Haki? Say something, man. Say Conqueror's Haki, Advanced Conqueror's Haki, Armament Haki. Like, say something when these things are used. But in the one instance where it's just like, yeah, it's Luffy, it's just fucking hot. Yeah, it's just Haki, man. Everyone uses this. Why did Oda feel the need to have Luffy say Haki here? When there's 50 different instances over the course of Egghead where we're just begging, like, say something. Is Zoro using King of Hell? Is like, did Luffy use Advanced Conquerors on White Star Gum? Like, have Kizaru, like, when Kizaru's getting punched with White Star Gum, have Kizaru, like, in his thought bubble or something like that as he's getting punched. You know what his thought bubble says as he's getting punched? He says, this is bad. Why doesn't he say something like, this is bad, advanced, like, he's using Conqueror's Haki or something like that? Why doesn't he just say that? The one instance where you would literally never need any character at all to clarify that Haki is being used, we can fucking tell that Haki is being used. Oda decides, in this moment, for the first time in 50 chapters, I'm going to clarify what a character is using. They're using Haki, everybody. I'm making sure that Luffy lets us know that they're using Haki. What the fuck is this? There's still controversy, by the way. Was Gaban using Advanced Conqueror's Haki or something like that? I don't even want to get into any of that. The one thing that we did not need clarification on is whether Gaban was using Haki or not. We all know he's using Haki. We don't need Luffy to make the first comment about Haki in the entire, like, last 2 arcs right here to clarify that, yes, Haki is in fact being used. I don't know, man. Okay. Sorry, I saw this today and I was just like, why did Oda write this line? Like, why did he write this line? What was the purpose of the line? Why do you write this line when it's like, there's so many other times that we're just begging for you to have a character say something, anything as to what's going on. And Oda thinks that the first time he has a character point out something that's being used, it's just standard basic, like, oh, Haki is being used. In case you guys didn't understand, he's using Haki. Anyway, all right, climb attacked. Let's move it along. Sorry for the rant. Let's move it along. We used to hear Haoshoku pre-time skip a lot. Yeah, characters would call it Haoshoku. And you know what's funny? They didn't need to do that either, because Haoshoku Haki, Conqueror's Haki, the way it used to be used to knock people out, that was also one of the clearest indicators of Haki. If you're knocking other characters out around you, like, that's the clearest indicator of Conqueror's Haki being used. Where we need to clarify now is when it's being used as part of an attack. But now we don't get the clarification. Anyway. So Nami's climb attack. This is her first climb attack. I think the first climb attack, it's like a classic. You know, it's a classic. So Tom Tom separated the 2 climb attacks out. I view them as, like, similar enough that there's not really a purpose to separating them out. But I appreciate that you did it. I'm just going to go, like, they do different things, but I think, like, in the flow of the story, you don't really care that much that things have changed that much. They still functionally do the same things. They weather ball, like, the balls, etc. But it's like Nami can do more with it now. But I don't think there's, like, a big impact to Nami, like, swapping the climb attacks. You know what I mean? It's more like the second climb attack is, like, the fixed and actually applicable version of what this concept was. So I feel like the concept is already in place here. So I'm just going to rank the climb attack in general. I'm not going to do this. We're just going to rank the climb attack. I think the climb attack is a cool power. It actually low-key made Nami have the most versatile fighting style, I think, pre-time skip out of any of the Straw Hats. Even Usopp had a lot of tricks up his sleeve, but Nami, it's just, like, straight up magic to a certain point, right? Like, anything you want, like wind, rain, lightning, mirages, like, she can do all of that. It was very cool. And she can just use those as straight up weapons, like heat, a little bit of electricity, like little electricity blasts and stuff like that. I think the climb attack was very cool. I'm going to put it in A. Gear second, easy S. Gear third, I don't think was that cool when it came out. I think Gear third I'd actually straight up put in B. Because Gear second was so cool and impactful when it came out. Gear third was almost, like, simple, like, too simple to really... Especially, I think part of the problem with Gear third is that it came after Gear second. So you kind of want Gear third to top Gear second. What we didn't realize is that it's just, it's not better than Gear Second. It just does something different. Um, it's not better. It's not worse. It's for finisher moves or whatever. Um, I think everybody remembers the reaction to Gear Second a lot more than Gear Third, right? Like, your reaction to Luffy versus Bluno, that was very, very exciting. Gear Third, I don't think anybody had a problem with Gear Third. It's just like, it wasn't as exciting or innovative as Gear Second. And I think the big thing with Gear Third, the reason I have it as B, is that I think what myself and many readers realize is that Luffy can't really fight in Gear Third. It's for one-off moves. He tried fighting Lucci. Like, he hit Lucci with it once, and that was what really shocked Lucci. But then after that, he couldn't really use it effectively against Lucci in battle because it's just a little bit too slow and cumbersome. So, yeah. I think that's where we're at with Gear Third. Okay. I'd put Gear 3 here. Yeah, like, it's cool. I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's, like, as interesting or innovative as, like, Climb Attack or Rumble Ball. Yeah, Enter Nami says Gear Third having to come after Gear Second and just being infinitely less cool does not help its ranking. Yeah, that's the thing. It's not... It had a very hard act to follow. So it's almost because it's in comparison to Gear Third. And, like, as we went forward in the pre-time skip, pretty much anytime you wanted Luffy to get serious, it was kind of like, okay, is he going to use Gear Second now, right? Like, is he going to be using Gear Second? It was rare that it was like, okay, he needs to use Gear Third for this. I think instances I can recall are like, okay, finishing off the Pacifista. But anytime you were like, Luffy was put in a extended fight against someone, you'd be like, okay, he's fighting Magellan. Let's see how he does in Gear Second against this character. You know, like, in general, just for fights, you wanted to see Luffy using Gear Second, and then once in a while, it's like, okay, Gear Third makes sense here. Yeah. It's also just simplistic. Like, Gear Second feels a lot more creative and like, oh, he's like speeding up his blood flow. Okay, so this is supposed to represent Zoans. So Zoans having hybrid transformations, okay? So what do we think of Zoans in general having hybrid transformations? I think that's pretty straightforward. I think that's like B, right? All characters who have Zoans, just the standard Zoan transformation, right? This is not Lucci's transformation specifically. It's just the concept of Zoans being able to transform into their hybrid form. I think that's B, right? It's not like bad. It's cool. Like, you can transform into animals. It's just very straightforward. What you're gonna get what you get pretty much every time. How do we feel about Ashura? How do we feel about Ashura? Ashura is complicated. I think Ashura is complicated. How do you feel about Ashura? Hybrids are neat, but not cool. Yeah, I think B makes sense. I don't know how I feel about Ashura, because, like, it's, when it debuted, it's a very strong ability. Just really... No, it's not 6 powers. Oh, wait, maybe it's supposed to be 6 powers. No. 6 powers is a technique, not a power-up. Yeah, this is just hybrid zones. It's not B. Ashura's not B, but I don't know if it's S. I don't think of Ashura in the same light I think of Gear Second. Maybe we need another tier. Yeah, I don't think it's S. It's just a little bit vague, and it's cool to see, but we've also never really seen Zoro fight an extended period of time in it. It feels a little bit random, especially because it was introduced at a time that we didn't even know Haki was like a confirmed thing. You know? I think it's an A. I think it's a high A. I think it's a high A. It feels weird putting it alongside like Rumble Ball and Climb Attack. So we can reconsider tiers later on. But I feel like it's not right to say that just because these characters are like, their powers are a lot weaker than Zoro's, that it's not about that, you know? Like, Gear Second is weaker than, like, Tank Man, but Gear Second is still a lot cooler. Sogeking's big pachinko. His great slingshot. I thought this was cool. I liked when Usopp busted this out. I felt like I actually, low-key, really dislike Usopp's new slingshot compared to the other one. I think it takes him back to his roots of like just being a guy with a little slingshot fighting, but I thought it was really cool when he upgraded to this. Um, and it has a phenomenal debut moment, literally shooting down the world government flag. Do you think this is S tier? What do you guys feel about Usopp's slingshot? Usopp's great slingshot. Great pachinko. I like it a lot. I could put it in S. I don't know if it's S. I think the tricky thing is that Gear Second sets a very high bar. It sets a very, very high bar. So we might need another tier. You think A? Okay, we can do A for that. I'm down for A. It feels more like A. It's not S. Yeah, it's not like, yeah, I don't know. I just thought the debut was really cool. I'm going to leave it unranked. Unranked. Tiers are unranked. It's going to get too much thinking if it's got to be ranked. I don't think it's B. Diable Jambe. I think Diable Jambe is sick. I think post-time skip, it felt diluted. But we're going to go back, like, in its prime, pre-time skip, I thought Diable Jambe was really cool. I think Sanji, when he was first debuting Diable Jambe, I think that was, like, the coolest he's been, kind of, in the story. It helped that I thought the Jabura moment is also really cool. Think S? Okay, I think most people are saying S. So no point in doing a poll. Diable Jambe is really sick. And with the music and everything, it's amazing. Monster Point, easy S. Again, prime Monster Point days. Like, when Monster Point first debuted, that was one of the coolest things Oda could have ever done with Chopper's character. The scene is just phenomenal. Like, if you go watch or read that scene, it is just like, Chopper is in hell. Like, everything's on fire. He's getting the shit beat out of him. He's absolutely helpless. He's struggling just to do his correct transformations. He does an absolute Hail Mary that fails. And he's literally like, he thinks he's going to die. And his last thoughts are just like, how can I help my crew still? And then, like, to me, it's just a cooler version of the Demonio Floor moment where it's like, if this is what it takes, I'll become a monster to save my crew. But, like, Chopper literally turns into a monster. Like, the thing that he was abused for all of his growing years and, like, ostracized for. Like, he literally turns into a monster and just loses himself and just becomes, like, the total opposite of the cutesy little mascot, you know? I thought that was phenomenal. Like, he becomes a straight-up berserker beast. Like, yeah, post-time skip, I think turning Monster Point into that, as long as Oda can do something really cool for Chopper again, it's fine that he turned Monster Point into what it is. It's the same way that, like, you know, Gear Second is never going to be as cool post-time skip as it was pre-time skip because Luffy can do more things now, right? But you need to replace, like, with Chopper, it's like that didn't get replaced with anything. It's like he took the cool part about Chopper and turned that into a mascot as well. The Monster Point scene and moment is just beautiful. And, like, the beatdown that he gives Kumadori after that is so fucking brutal. It's so brutal. He, like, is crushing his skull. It's just, like, Chopper literally turns into the total opposite of who he is. And Oda used Monster Point brilliantly in that the next time that Monster Point came out, perfect decision was here, when the entire crew is falling apart. Like, the entire crew is breaking apart. They're all having meltdowns, like absolute traumatic, like straight up psychological warfare meltdowns as they're watching themselves fall apart one by one. Chopper is like the little kid of the crew, right? He's the little kid of the crew. He's the youngest, least experienced, and he's watching all this happen. Like, watch it. Like, Chopper goes through his own fucking emotional journey here. He sees Sanji fall. Then he sees Usopp go down. Damn, everyone's going down. You can't stop, you guys. This is so sick. The way Monster Point used to be used is so sick. Like, Chopper just goes on a rampage. because he just fucking loses it. He can't control himself. This is an amazing, like, oh, man, Oda did this whole scene so fucking well. And then eventually Monster Point is gone too. Or like, yeah, Kuma gets Chopper too. I didn't even realize Zoro's not even gone yet. Yeah, Chopper's just rampaging. This, yeah. This scene was so good. This scene's so fucking good, it's crazy. Chopper's still going. He's the second to last. And just seeing Chopper, like, lose his fucking mind in this scenario while everybody else is, like, being popped. Oh, man, this is so good. Oda made so many great choices, even in just the order in which... He did the scene so well. Even just the order in which he did each of the Straw Hats is perfect. Like, making Luffy's lose Zoro first, because that was Luffy's first crewmate. That's brilliant. Having Chopper go second to last, because Chopper's, like, in this berserk state, so it's kind of, like, the whole time Chopper's rampaging, it's kind of reflecting, like, the Straw Hat's psychological state, so then Chopper goes. And then having Robin be last is perfect, because this is almost right after the gigantic, like, biggest One Piece storyline ever that revolved around, like, saving, like, the entire crew going to the end of the world to save Robin. And then, like, all of a sudden, Luffy can't save her. Like, it's just, like, what's lost there is so fitting in that, like, we spent so much time getting her back, and all of a sudden, she's gone. And, like, that being the last one that's gone is, like, I think that's just a brilliant move. Okay, anyway, getting back into it. Nightmare Luffy. I'm putting this in a C. I strongly dislike Nightmare Luffy. I just thought it's the one and only time that Luffy's just given, like, a random temporary power-up. Like, you can joke about Water Luffy and Afro Luffy and stuff, but this is, like, a true random temporary power-up that just resolved. I just really dislike this one. Because the Straw Hats fighting against Oars on their own without their captain and doing so well was awesome. And then having Luffy, like, just come in and steal the show. But, like, obviously he can't logically beat Oars solo, so Oda, like, concocted this random ass temporary power up just so that Luffy can come in and save the day. I really didn't like that. I don't even know how to feel about that. Like, it's so meaningless. It's there for one chapter, never comes up again. Yeah, Straw Hats versus Oars is awesome, but, like, it's just, the story was so good with, like, the idea of Luffy's crew being able to fight so well without him, being able to practically defeat this undefeatable monster without him. I would still love, like, I love the team attack that they did afterwards once, like, Luffy ends Nightmare Luffy mode, you know? And they all do that big team attack to finish off Oars. That was great. And Luffy still gets the finishing blow. I love all that. But, like, Nightmare Luffy is just... It almost felt like once you have Nightmare Luffy in there, Oda could have easily written it like Nightmare Luffy by himself does so much damage to Oars that none of the crew's previous efforts even mattered. Yeah, it was unearned. It wasn't his strength. It's another big aspect of why I don't like it. I don't know what this is. Is this supposed to be the Yami Yami no Mi? Or the Goro no Mi? I don't count this one, so I'm going to leave this out. I do have to take the dog soon. All right, dogs. Okay. Give me. Yeah. Let me try and speed through this. Not speed through the speed. Okay. Armament Haki. Armament Haki. This is a tricky one. Armament Haki is a tricky one. It's not cool anymore just thanks to Conqueror's Haki being a thing. I'm going to go ahead and put Armament in B. I think Observation is cool. It just needs to be utilized better. I think Observation's a good concept. Just utilize it better. Conqueror's Haki as a concept is phenomenal. That's like One Piece's thing. Like that's a discussion that transcends One Piece into other stories. It's like which characters would have Conqueror's Haki, right? That's a discussion that we had earlier. Right? Just base Conqueror's Haki is phenomenal. I'm going to go ahead and show you Advanced Conqueror's Haki, while amazing in practice, or amazing in theory, it's terrible in practice because we can never fucking know when it's going on, right? I'm just going to knock out the advanced versions of Haki right here. Ryo, I'm going to put in C. Advanced Conquerors Haki. Ryo, I'm going to put here because it's hard to differentiate between that and Advanced Conquerors Haki frequently. The pick is for Blackbeard getting the Gura Gura. Yeah, I guess that's... Okay, I got you. I think Blackbeard getting the Gura Gura was an awesome power-up moment. That was really, really cool when it happened. Like, that's a phenomenal scene that always gets big reactions, so I'll put that in. Yeah, I think Ryo is just... It's too messy. It's too inconsistent. It's not even explained when some characters are using it or not using it. Advanced Conquerors Haki is cooler just because it leads to certain things like splitting the sky, galaxy impact, certain moves. But the inconsistency between, like, the lack of clarity between that and Ryo is why neither of them are going to be higher on this list for me. Let's see. Future Sight, I think, is really cool. I think Future Sight is really cool, even though it's not used well in the story. I think it was a really cool concept from the first arc that it debuted. And I think everyone always gets excited still when we get moments that Future Sight is being used. Like, it's just, with Future Sight, it's more so... I think Oda actually does make it clear when the characters are using Future Sight. Like, you know when Luffy's using it because he will state something. Like against Ulti in page 1, we all realized Luffy's using Future Sight right there. Against Kaido, we saw when Kaido started using Future Sight. So I think there is some more clarity. I think it's more for, like, why doesn't Luffy use it more often? With Advanced Conquerors and Katakuri is, like, an all-time favorite character, largely because of his signature Future Sight stuff. So with Future Sight, I think it's a really cool concept. Like, we love seeing, like, the Shanks Future Sight scene as he sees that against Kid, right? I think there's greater clarity to when Future Sight is used. It's just not used as frequently as you would expect from characters. With Advanced Conquerors, it really should be an S tier, a bit like power-up, but it's just become so muddied. Like, when it debuted in chapter 1010, it was awesome, but even by the end of the arc, it was already muddied as to when characters are using it or not, and then it's just gotten worse from there. Yeah, Luffy's Future Sight moment in Udon is really cool. I just saw a future I don't like. I think pretty much every time Future Sight is used, like, in the story, it is cool. Because it's, like, something that characters have in their back pocket that they whip out, and it's, like, cool to realize that they're doing it. It's what Advanced Conquerors, if only it was more clear, it would be really top tier, but it's just, I don't know. It's not. Nami's upgraded climate thing, I don't think there was that much of a... There was very little distinct change in it, so I'm going to go ahead and put it here. I think out of all the Strahd's power-ups post-time skip, I think Nami's was one of the most understated, so it just didn't feel like much, but that's because she was set to get Zeus later. Do you guys remember she actually got it even upgraded again at Zou? And it's like, what's the fucking difference? Like, I don't remember being like, post-Zou, it's like, oh my god, now Nami can do this with the climate baton, whereas before she couldn't. It just felt like the same fucking thing. It's once you got Zeus that was very different. So I'm going to go ahead and rank Nami getting Zeus. Yeah, Nami getting Zeus I think is cool. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of an insane power-up if I think about it. Okay, this is one of the biggest downgrades in the story. This is fucking lame as fuck. The Frankie Shogun, I have half a mind to put it in S. I fucking love the Frankie Shogun. Brook's soul stuff is fine. I think I want some more clarity on it. It doesn't seem to have a bunch of uses. Gear 4. Is Gear 4 S tier or not? I think Gear 4 is S tier. I think it took some time to grow on me. I remember when Gear 4 first came out, I don't think it was met with the same level of popularity as Gear 2nd. I think by the time he used King Kong Gun, everyone was on board with it. Part of it was the goofy appearance. Part of it was like, it was a little unclear what exact, like, I just remember there was a bit more, I think part of it is that Gear 2nd came out of the blue, so there was no expectations for it. Gear 4 was something that people were kind of already believing existed and were waiting on. So it was hard to match expectations, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'll do a poll for Gear 4. Well, I'll leave my thoughts. Yeah, this is Bound Man. I'm going to go ahead and say Snake Man is easy S. And Tank Man is like C. Or D. Literally used once in the story, never again. People are leaning towards Gear 4S. I think I would agree. I think it became a pretty iconic ability of Luffy's, even if it didn't have quite the debut of Gear 2nd. Like, I think it got there. Like, I feel like by the time Luffy used Gear 4, I think once the King Kong Gun chapter came out and he, like, split Dressrosa in half with a punch, I was really on board with Gear 4. When Gear 4 first came out, I wanted to love it as much as Gear 2nd. Like, because as I was reading Dressrosa, I had really high hopes for that arc, so I wanted to love each part of it, but I found myself disappointed in certain ways. So Gear 4, I was like, this is as cool as Gear 2nd. I was trying to convince myself when it first came out, like, it's as cool as Gear 2nd. I just didn't feel it. And I reread the chapter multiple times, and I was like, the moment that Luffy punches Doflamingo the first time with Gear 4, it's cool. It sends him flying. But I'm just comparing the moment. I was like, I'm rewatching the Blue Note fight and rereading the Blue Note fight. I'm like, there was just something about the first time Luffy used Gear 2nd that felt more impactful. I was trying to convince myself that Gear 4 was as cool, but I didn't quite get there, so I was like, I don't know. But then once Luffy brought it back for the end of the fight and used King Kong Gun, I was like, okay, holy shit, this is fucking insane. Like, that was insane. So I think by the end of the fight, it had sold me. Okay, this is Doflamingo's Awakening. I think Doflamingo's Awakening is pretty basic. I kind of put it here. No, I guess I put it here. It's just a standard whatever ability. I think Katakuri's Mochi Donuts are cooler, but it's because he kind of combines it with the Future Sight stuff. I don't think it's crazy cool. I think it's here. Nami gets another sort of. How many improvements does Nami need? I'm gonna ignore this one. Okay. Oh, this is with Zeus. Then what's the other one? Oh, this is the first time around. My bad. I missaw that. This is with Zeus. My mistake. Okay. Sulong. I think Sulong is really cool. At least it was when it first debuted. Now I think it's a little bit neutered. Because Oda went really, really hard on the art when Sulong first came out. When Sulong first came out, like, the Sulong chapter with Carrot, that was one of Oda's best drawn transformations in the story ever. I think since then, like, it was funny because he did all that for the Carrot chapter, and then I think by the end of the arc, Peckham's went Sulong also, and it was just like, Oda just phoned it in. It was just like, okay, it's just Peckham's, but, like, he's, like, a little bit furrier or something like that. And I think since then, Inuarashi and Nekomamushi, the spread of them in both Sulong form, that was really cool. But he doesn't put the same level of effort into it now for each time. So Sulong's tricky, but I think I would put Sulong here. I think Sulong's pretty cool. Demonio Fleur. I think that's an S. I think Demonio Fleur is awesome. One of Robin's best moments in the story. Gear 5, easy S. King of Hell mode. I consider King of Hell to also be an A. I think there's still some level of lack of clarity. I mean, I think we get it. I just don't think I don't think it's that cool because it's just Zoro's swords with some. But I guess Diablo Jump based just Sanji's stuff with. I think it's because it's like so late in the story. I kind of want something cool. Like what I'm really looking for with Zoro is like Ashura being used again, but like with King of Hell. King of Hell is stupid and cringe. Some people say. I don't think it's like in this tier of like just not really interesting. Here I'll do a poll for King of Hell. Cringiest name? Yeah, fine. I'll do a poll. I'll do A, B. I don't think it's S. I'm going to go ahead and put the raid. People might not like this. I'm putting the raid suit in C. I'm straight up putting the raid suit in C. I just feel like it just feels so fucking random to me. Like, Sanji's a character that we've been following for 1,000 chapters, and all of a sudden it's like he's gonna fight in like this pajama suit using like Power Ranger stuff, like, and like speed boosters and invisibility. Like, yeah, he did technically want invisibility at one point in the story. It's just so fucking random to me. It just doesn't it feels so foreign to the character. I was so happy when he destroyed it. I remember when the raid suit came out and like Sanji started actually using like the raid suit was such a complicated story because like first it was given to him and Sanji was like, this is terrible, I'm not gonna use it, and everyone was like, yeah, fuck that raid suit. And then in partway through Wano, Sanji's like, I'm just gonna use it, guys. And then Sanji fans, I remember during that time, they kind of convinced themselves that, you know what, the raid suit's kind of cool. And then we get to the Onigashima battle, and Sanji gets like some actual power ups that are like intrinsic, like he doesn't need to put on a suit or anything like that, and he destroys the raid suit. And Sanji fans were like, fuck yeah, we didn't really actually fuck with the raid suit that much. We much prefer Ifrit Jambe and stuff like that. So it's like, I feel like there was a period of time that Sanji fans like talked themselves into liking the raid suit. I don't think it's that cool. I don't think like anybody misses that Sanji no longer has the raid suit. King of Hell B? Okay, we can put it in B. I'm down to put it in B. I don't think it's B. Well, I think Ashura is definitely cooler than King of Hell, and I put Ashura in A. So, yeah. Sanji's eyebrow flip, I think is stupid. His eyebrow flip, it's just... I don't like a power-up where there's basically... It falls in the category like you can tell when it happens, but it's just like... It's so bare minimum. It's such a small cosmetic change. It's like literally we have to look into the like there's debates like, wait, did he flip the eyebrow or whatever? And then we actually have to go look and be like, it's actually like this. I don't even fucking remember off the top of my head which way Sanji's eyebrow is supposed to go. I don't. Like it's just I think that's stupid. Ifrit Jambe on the other hand, I think is a cool power up. Ifrit I could see I don't think it's S necessarily because it's just Diablo Jambe with a different color, but I do think Ifrit Jambe is cool. Like, I view the eyebrow change as just a thing that needs to happen before he can use Ifrit Jambe. So, I'm not shitting on Sanji's, like, Wano power-ups. I'm just saying, like, I feel like the eyebrow part isn't the cool part. I feel like once he starts using Ifrit, that's when it's cool. Like, he has to start using the eyebrow before he can use Ifrit. Isn't it more like a gag? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it shows that the exoskeleton is working, and Oda had to find some way of displaying that without making it, like, really... Like, the exoskeleton is not supposed to be, like, a huge cosmetic change, so it's the smallest thing Oda could do. But that's why I don't find it to be that cool for power-up. Like, it's not bad, it's just not exciting to me. Okay. Eyebrow and Ifrit are synonymous? No, because they're two separate things. The eyebrow is one power-up, and then on top of that, he can start using Ifrit. Like, it's the same way Diablo Jambe is its own power-up, right? All right. The Awakenings. I think Kid's Awakening is D. I think Law's Awakening is... What do you guys think of Law's Awakening? Exoskeleton could have been permanent Law? Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Why does Sanji need to transform into the exoskeleton? It's not like that makes Sanji too broken. Like, I feel like considering Luffy and Zoro's base forms are so much stronger now, why not just make Sanji's... I genuinely don't know where people want to put Law's Awakening, so let's just see. I'm going to drop Nightmare Luffy too. Putting Nightmare Luffy over here. It's genuinely one of my least favorite moments in the story. Like, least satisfying ways. It's such a throwaway power-up that's not Luffy's own ability, that's like just really random and almost takes away from all of the effort that the crew was doing beforehand. It's like, despite all that, and them literally making the case that we're going to show you how strong we are on our own, they have to be saved by Luffy, not even through Luffy's own strength, but through random bullshit that just Luffy gets because he's the main character. A? Okay, let's do A. I think it's a fair A. And then finally, general concept of Zoan Awakenings. Oh, what about Bonnie's Gear 5th power-up? This is the general concept of Zoan Awakenings. I think general concept of Zoan Awakenings is like B. There's nothing particularly crazy about them. Like, you just compare it to Chopper's, like, 7 hybrid transformations, and that's a lot cooler. I think Sulong is cooler than a standard Zoan Awakening. There's just a bit more that comes with it in terms of design and the transformation moment and everything like that. Bonnie's Gear 5th power-up. Bonnie's Nika power-up. Okay, it looks like it's averaging out to about B. I'm down to put it there. I don't have any strong feelings about it, really. All right, it is that time to vote for the best one. We're just gonna do a couple. We're gonna do a quick couple polls. All right, best one from each round moves on. Vote. This is actually tough because I think there's a solid argument between Gear 2 and just Conqueror's Haki as a general concept. Because Conqueror's Haki is very cool. These are all very cool. These are all S tier. I think Diablo Jambe has no shot against Gear 2. Gear 2 versus Conqueror's Haki is... Alright, looks like Gear 2's taking it. Alright, on to the next one. Vote. Gura Gura. Future Sight. Snake Man. Harley, Casey, no. No. It's their time to go out. Yeah. We're going. Wait. Okay, wait. Shoot, I feel bad. Okay, we're gonna go. Wait. All right, it's getting close. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do it again between Future Sight and Snake Man. Or actually, hold on. There's going to be 4 now. Vote. So let's do Future Sight, Snake Man, Demonio Fluor, and Gear 5. And then after that, it'll be the winner of this versus Gear 2nd. Yeah. We're going to go. Oh, poor dogs. Okay, we're almost done. All right. We're almost there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gear 5 takes it. All right, I think it was always going to come down to this. Gear 2 or Gear 5. I'll tell you what I lean towards after. All right, 5. This is very close. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. I agree with Gear 5 being One Piece's greatest power-up. I think it's so unique. And like when it first happened, like Gear 2 had a huge impact. Like it's a huge reaction when it first happens. When Gear 5 first happens, it genuinely is mind-blowing. Like it genuinely warps your perception of the entire fucking story. Like what you're like, what the fuck am I even watching when Gear 5 first happens? Very unique to One Piece. I think that there is a strong argument that, I mean, I've made myself many times, that in the long term, it could have a negative effect on one of One Piece's best aspects, which is the serious, dramatic tone that comes through in Luffy's most significant battles, right? Like, you don't get the conclusion to Luffy versus Lucci. Like, Luffy versus Lucci with Gear 5 doesn't really work with the same, like, it doesn't have the same vibe, right? Luffy versus Katakuri with Gear 5, not the same vibe. Like, Luffy versus Crocodile round 3 with Gear 5 doesn't really have the same vibe, right? So we're losing something there, but what we're gaining, I'm very open to seeing, and like it's just so iconic and so special. It transcends One Piece. Like it's like something special in terms of anime and manga in general. I would put it number 1. If by the end of the story it feels like Gear 5 has made us lose the ability to genuinely have those really, really dramatic, serious battles that we love One Piece for Luffy, then I might revise my opinion that like it was a really cool concept, like a phenomenal concept that may have secretly cost us more than we realized, I think, that lost something that's very important for the story, but I'm not there yet. Like, I'm still optimistic about what Gear 5 can be, and I would still just put it as, like, the craziest, most impactful, most unique, and interesting power-up of One Piece. All right! All right, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. I definitely appreciate it, of course. I thought this was a really fun stream. And yeah, I will talk to you guys.